Mr. Manager, you ready? Yes, sir. We'd like to call this meeting of the Macon County Board of Commissioners to order. Hope everybody's doing well. Everybody's prepared for the snow, right? Because it is coming. We just talked to our emergency services coordinator. He may make an announcement about this. There's been some updates and it looked like we may get a little bit more snow than they thought originally. So let's just be prepared. Hope everybody is. If you need something of emergency nature, then you dial 911 and these guys will come. Right. Anyway, welcome. Glad you're here. Can you hear okay? Yeah. We actually put in a new sound system by necessity. The old one blew up or died, whatever you call it, and we put in a new one. I think this is the first opportunity we've had, and I think you can hear better, right?
Sure can.
If Commissioner Bill will quit beating on the
Hey,
mic.
I just said his own.
Anyway, announcements. Mr. Manager, Mr. Decker, anything you have a nature announcement?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Davis, Bill, Tate, all things. I would mention that we had one for firefighters that has fallen this week. Ricky Gregory, I believe his number was 1811, Cowee firefighter. Is that right? And I believe his funeral yesterday. So we'd like to certainly recognize him and his contribution to that community and to our county. With that, we'll have a moment of remembrance for him and others that we need to think about tonight as we observe a moment of silence, and then I'm going to ask Commissioner Haven if he would to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all stand. If you would join me on the side. Thank you. Commissioner Haven, if you would please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. We do have a public hearing that is scheduled for tonight. This is the closeout of Macon County's 2010 Community Development Block Grant. And if I'm not mistaken, you have a public hearing on the front end of that and one on the back end of that. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney? Okay, so is John, I think John Fay is going to do that for us. And John, if you would come, and I'll declare the hearing in session. John.
Community Development Block Grant, that was a 2010 grant, was for $400,000. $320,000 was set aside for the substantial rehabilitation of single-family homes, low income, usually elderly, disabled persons. $35,000 was set aside for admin, and planning had $5,000. There was also a local auction in there, which we used as an urgent repair program, which made us operating two urgent repair programs at the same time, but from two different state agencies. Out of that funds, we expended $198,467 on substantially rehabilitating 7 Macon Indians homes. We had scheduled to do one person dropped out, and so that was the difference there. We were able to do emergency repairs to 21 homes. This is people that generally have severe leaks in the roof and stuff like that. Our stance has always been to get that taken care of first if we can. And then sometimes it's a stopgap until we can get to them with the rehabilitation, but it keeps everything else from deteriorating. And that was accomplished, of course, with the Housing Department personnel. Substantial contribution from the World Changers that we use, and Habitat for Humanity, kind of a new type of liaison that we've set up between us. It's very functional, working out very well. And then, of course, local church groups participating. That's it.
Okay, questions? Gentlemen, and I will state for the record that no one signed up to speak to that hearing. Mr. Decker, we have no one on this list to speak. Is there anyone who would like to speak specifically to the subject at hand? or any commissioner have a question, Paul?
The leftover, you said you had expended, what, 198,000?
Yeah, 198,000 out of the rehab. That's just basically what we do is they reimburse us. We incur the expense and then they reimburse us. So what happens is that balance of money is not drawn down.
Is that money in our account somewhere, or is that
No, it's in it. The state has the funds.
the 320,000?
Exactly. And then as we draw down, we do request for disbursements.
Yeah.
And then they basically, as we can substantiate what we can spend, then they basically send us the funds.
And we only used 200,000 of that, 198.
Yeah, the total grant amount that we used was $261,720.
Why didn't we use it all?
Well, I understand. I'd like to use it all too. Basically, that was a substantial piece of it. The other part is that we just don't have enough manpower. We would be overcommitted. So we actually did everything. At that time we had these programs going on, there were 6 other programs that weatherization, another actual rehab program, plus heating and air, and another urgent repair program. So we really had our hands full.
And you've only got, how many employees are involved in all of this?
Right now, we have, there's 6 of us total. And out of that, 4 of those are, actually 3 of those are field personnel that actually go out and do the repairs. And then 1 that basically is our weatherization guy that does all the technical instrumentation to determine what we need to do to the house. Plus, he does help in the field and repair. And I do occasionally as I need it.
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman, that you heard John mention the working partnership with Habitat for Humanity. I'm glad to have been a part of that, John, with you and them, putting that deal together, and I think it's worked great. It gives you more manpower.
It sure does. It makes our dollar go further.
And it makes the dollar go further, so.
And world changers.
And world changes, you can't forget about that.
Right.
So it's amazing what John does. Just follow this group a couple of days, and you'll see some houses in Macon County you don't realize exist.
Okay, any other questions, gentlemen, comments?
No, we sure thank all of you that done that for us too.
Thank you.
Yeah, very much. And Chester, I guess we declare the hearing closed.
Correct.
All right, hearing is closed.
Thank you.
I don't think we don't need to vote, do we?
I think he has requested the approval of the closeout, is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's
So we need to
Yes,
vote.
you would.
Okay,
Second,
so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Commissioner, or Senator Davis would note that Macon County did leave some money on the table in Raleigh, so if you could pass that on to your friends. Thank you, John, very much. This next part is, I guess, I think one of the best part of our meeting is public comment. For those of you maybe new, is a time that we allow every month to allow the public to speak, and this board has always been very open to do that, to let the board, if anyone speak that wants to speak on any particular subject, that it's not limited to our agenda. It's whatever you want to say, whatever's on your mind. And in my tenure here, I've seen some things brought up that are very worthwhile that were not on the agenda. So that's what this is for. And we actually have 7 folks that signed up tonight, so that's good. I'm always disappointed when nobody does. So Benji Johnson, we've got here tonight, Macon County Firemen's Association, right? Okay, Benji, welcome, glad you're here.
I appreciate y'all's time. I'll try to make this just as quick as possible. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Benji Johnson, President of Macon County Firemen's Association. Macon County Firemen's Association is made up of the fire departments here in Macon County. Currently, at this time, we only have 9 departments out of the 11 with us. I come before you today proposing that you help us out with an upcoming event that we plan on hosting this April. We're calling it the Firefighter Challenge and Family Fun Day. It's an event that we are putting together to hopefully give back a little bit to our firemen and our emergency personnel. I know a lot of counties in the state and other states, set aside a certain day to kind of give back to them, especially for their families. And that's what we're trying to do here. This is a day where it'll be set up down at the Southwestern Public Safety Training Center off Industrial Park Road. Departments will go head-to-head in real-life scenarios. The events will be timed. Basically, the average time put together with the lowest amount of time will win a trophy. Also, with that, we'll have kids' events that the kids can take place in with their fathers in the fire department and stuff like that. Also, afterwards, we're going to have a meal. We're just a basic lunch, hamburger, hot dog type meal. My main purpose of coming before y'all is we need help financing this. Currently, with the 9 members of the departments, our dues are right at $200. That's right at $1,800 a year. Most of our funds go towards specialized training for the departments, along with the Macon County Fire School located out at the Public Safety Training Center as well. With that, we also host the annual Macon County Fireman of the Year banquet. Those funds go pretty quick, especially with those specialized classes. Some of those classes can be upwards to thousands of dollars. Like I said, this main event is to give back to the firemen and their families, give them a little time together, some fellowship. I do have a layout of kind of like what we're looking at. The amount we're asking for is right at $950. I got a little budget layout if y'all would like it. I only printed 7, so I do apologize.
Thank you.
I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Right now, our current budget, I will go ahead and share that with you. For the rest of the year, $745. With that, most of that will go towards our Fireman of the Year banquet. That's coming up in March. Hopefully, we can find a place soon to schedule that. Most of the items on there are somewhat donated by the departments. Some of the items as well are donated by local businesses and things like that. The additional $17 that you see on there that I'm asking for is just miscellaneous for the taxes and stuff like that we, and shipping and handling and stuff like that, so the stuff we got to order. Like I said, the main reason I'm asking for this, I came into this position with 2 goals set. First goal, I wanted to get all 11 departments back on the Macon County Firemen's Association. Before this year, we were at 8. We recently had a department come back. That was great. We're working on the other 2 at this time. And my second goal was to set a time up, a day at a time, basically for our firefighters, emergency responders, to just, like I said, give back to them. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or anything like
Well, just pass the hat and see if we can take this money out.
Have you asked the other fire departments if they can contribute?
We have, and most of them, with their $200 dues, our problem right now is the departments are looking at the association is where are we getting back. Like I said, our dues for the year are $200. We've thought about raising that. I don't want to, just until we can really, get a ball rolling with something. Give them a good reason to join the association. Just because you get a plaque and a trophy at one time a year, it's not really worth the $200 in my opinion. This year we were happy to write up a letter to send to the legislative, and just talking about our retirement. We got a little over 300 something signatures just here in Macon County. I'm just looking for a reason to give something back to the department so they can look at the association and say, well, this is what they're doing for us. They respect us. They know what we're going through, and they're wanting to help us out.
Well, financially, I know in our budget we go through, and there's an amount for each fire department. How would this be considered if we consider this? Would this be this would be a separate line item?
I don't think those funds could actually be used for that, this purpose. Those taxes,
Straight to the bid.
they got to go straight to those districts.
I want to make this statement to you, Mr. Johnson. I want you to know I appreciate you and all the other departments. There's lots of ways that people look differently on how you spend their tax dollar. And on this right here, I'd do anything in this world I could, but like what Paul says, I'm going to be real to make this deal right here. I'll give you $100 on it. I don't know if any of the other commissioners would, but if we start this, I think we just talk around and see if we can't get you $1,000 instead of taking it from the taxpayers out of there.
I think we can make it
I've
work.
got it on my team now.
Is that a challenge?
I'll commit you $100 for my company.
There we go.
He's an insurance business, he'll make up.
I had a good month this month.
The state senator will give a couple.
That's
500
500.
and go 500.
We all
Got
got
five.
And if you can go to the other fire departments and say, make them raise half of it, that'd be very little for each fireman. Benji, so if that's the problem, you come back.
How much are you short? You had 5 commissioners all did 100 and you did, so that's 6.
So we've almost got you covered there, and we've not bothered the taxpayers' money.
Who we give it money to?
I don't know, but I've got.
Just give it to me, I'll hold it.
And say, who we not give money to?
You can give it to me, and it'll be handed to our treasurer, which is Kay Sherburne. Let's get it
Could we,
out there.
why don't we do it this
I need to
way?
write a check.
I'm gonna have to
I need to
say,
say, why don't we give it to Lori and let her deposit that, so as everything's above board, and we can, that way we're not questioning
Well,
where
we
the
don't
cash.
really, it don't need to go to the
It
county.
doesn't need to go through the
It
county.
goes straight to his.
Let's just go straight to his
Okay.
organization.
Give us that address, Benji.
What's the technical name?
Macon County Firemen's Association.
And we can just make a check for that.
If y'all get it to me, I'll
Okay, okay.
I'll have to tell you that, or whatever you want, that's the same thing right there.
Who is the secretary?
Kay Sherburne. She is the
I'll
rescue
get it.
captain
I'll get it the checks.
at Scalar Mountain Fire.
So you'll get the check to you and you'll take care of it.
Yeah, y'all can go ahead and give him, go and do that.
This is tax deductible, right?
Yes, it is.
I appreciate
Now, that
it.
doesn't apply to anybody else except Angie Johnson.
You're short.
Just say yes, you're sure.
Somebody else will think.
And we do have a state senator sitting back there.
I don't know, he told me he had to file it, they charge more for that than they registered. I was trying to make sure I had $65.
All right, Benji, thank you.
Thank you, Benji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I agree, as worthy as the project is, I think we have to be careful. If we fund the nonprofits, there's a lot out there that, and we also have the community funding pool, which we have, that it actually goes through the budget process and is vetted. So I have no problem helping that individual. I don't think that's the right way to do it. So anyway, thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Benji.
We have State Senator Jim Davis is with us tonight, and Jim has asked to speak, and it's blank on the subject, so I'm assuming there'll be more than one.
Well, that's what my mind is blank. So that's good. This is just like coming home. It's good to be here. And Lori and gentlemen, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. This is part of my, one thing that I pledged when I got elected was to continue my contact with local governments. And so this is the second round. I'm not visiting as often as I had planned, but the demands of my time are a lot more. But I've already been to Cherokee County, and I'll be hitting the rest of the counties in addition to the qual boundary with tribal council as well. And thank you, Benji. You can count me in on that as well. Matter of fact, I'll do 101. The volunteer firefighters in North Carolina are the best public service value that we have by far. So they're very
And in Macon County, we're probably, Benji, 95% volunteer. It'd be 95% or more.
Yeah.
More than, yeah.
Well, I had an unfortunate occurrence about 3 years ago where I needed their services, and I can personally vouch for their dedication and their professionalism, so very grateful for that. And congratulations on getting the Party grant for your ball fields, and I was glad to participate in that on the state level and to help shepherd that grant through. I'm here just to remind you that the resources of the state are available for you. The greatest asset that I took to Raleigh was my service in local government. Still the best government in my view, and I use local government department heads and officials as resources all the time. And I just want to remind you that I'd like to keep those avenues of communication open. Just had an opportunity just last week. I was heading over to Southwestern Commission, wasn't it a week ago Monday? Was it last Monday? I don't know, they run together. And was talking with the manager and just learned a little bit about the problem that we're having in the Board of Elections. And he was sharing with me that there was going to be a considerable expense in getting a forensic accountant in to do that. And I suggested that he contact the state auditor's office. I'm sure that they would have resources to help him. And he said, well, do you think that they would help? And I said, well, I don't know, let's ask. So we picked up the phone and called her. And she does her job very well, and she has a capable staff. And so I'm sure that they'll be out here to help determine what the problem was, and if there are any weaknesses or any holes in the process, they will help you plug those, Lori. I can assure you that she and her staff are incredibly talented and professional, and they will do everything that you ask for them, but they'll help you in that regard. But anyway, thank you for what you do. Again, I have an incredible love of local government, and just consider me your liaison in Raleigh. Do everything that I can. I know Ronnie talks to me frequently about mental health, which is still an incredible problem that we have to deal with. So I guess I'm from the government. I'm here to help. but I really do think I help.
Famous line by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Jim, let me say, I know I speak for these guys. We appreciate your service, and you mentioned the part of Parks and Recreation grant, and I know early on we had some naysayers. You always have that said, oh, we'll never get that $500,000 grant, which was the maximum that you could apply for, with the help of people like Senator Davis and Roger West and our own lobbying efforts. We were able to get the full grant, $500,000. It's the largest grant they give. And matter of fact, Seth, I think in this last round we were the only $500,000 that was given. If I'm not,
I think there were others.
they were maxed, yeah. But there were total of 81 requests.
Yes.
And what?
There's 6 projects in the state grant.
6 projects. Okay. Thank you.
I think your application was rated one of the best.
It was. We were
Certainly the best in the second round.
We were number 1 in the second round. We were number 11 in ranking, I believe, Seth, out of a total of 81. So those folks believe in that project. But thank you for helping out. You and I sat in your office in Raleigh more than once and talked about that and who we could talk to and how we could get that done. And we appreciate your help. And also this thing that we're dealing with the Board of Elections has been a difficult thing. And thank you for communicating. And that was to tell you the truth, the manager and myself and Senator Davis rode together to a meeting, and the conversation came up. And before we got there, they had a potential solution for it. So and that's the way government should work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's my 2 cents.
It's got a picture of me with Beth Litt, the auditor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, she's a Democrat, right?
She's an excellent Democrat.
Yeah.
There are some.
She's one of them.
Yeah, indeed, she is.
And then there's the rest of them.
She's incredibly capable. But You need to know too that I have a good relationship with the NCACC board, and they have liaisons and that work with the legislature. That they know the way to my office, and they're not used to having a representative in the legislature, so they usually have to push us along. But I pull them along sometimes. But they do an incredible job for you. I had heard when I went down there that the League of Municipalities had a better legislative liaisons, but I haven't found that to be the case. The Association of County Commissioners are extremely well represented, so you can be proud of them, and we just see them thank them because they do a great job.
And Jim, you know the value of being involved in that. Our board, at least in my tenure here, we've been very involved in that group, and it's important to let your voice be heard on the state level, especially when you have folks that will listen.
Right.
How many miles you got on this little car?
208. I figured for my taxes the other day, I was figuring up I drove 19,800 and some back and forth to Raleigh last year, and almost 9,000 in the district running around. So it's a little.
But you make $14,000 a year being a state senator.
Well, actually, it's 13,900.
Oh, okay.
But you know, I knew how far it was to Raleigh, and I knew the compensation for it when I asked for the job. So anyway,
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Call me if we can help, because it pays dividends, right?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Senator. Next, we have Miss Brittany Parker,
I'm surprised you can read that. I just scratched
who
it.
is going to talk about Read to Me.
As long as you guys are passing out some money. I'm kidding. You guys already gave us money for Read to Me. In case you guys don't remember what Read to Me is, we started an organization or kind of a group about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's to promote early literacy amongst the children in Macon County. Nearly, I forget the numbers now, but somewhere, I think half the children entering kindergarten can't read on a state level by the time they come into our school system. So we kind of wanted to attack it early. So we formed Read to Me, and our three goals of Read to Me are to get books in the hands of children, to educate parents on the importance of early literacy, and just to educate the community. And that's what we do. And I wanted to give you guys an update because this past year your community funding pool allocated Read to Me some dollars to towards our Dolly Parton and Imagination Library. What that is for any child from birth to 5 years old in Macon County can sign up for free of charge for them, and they get a book every month until they are 5 years old. My son is a recipient of the program as well, and I read his books to him every month. So, and it's of no charge to any parents or any families in Macon County. We cover the cost, and it's organizations have donated, you guys donated, the town of Franklin donated, Rotary Club has been a really big partner in it, and we have sign-up forms and everything like that. To date, since the program got started and it's in its first year, we have almost 900 children who have come through the program. So currently enrolled, we have 744 children in Macon County who are receiving books right now. The kids, we've reached around 900 kids, and the reason why they're not still in the program is they've aged out, which we consider they've graduated from the program. So they've reached the 5-year mark, so they no longer receive the books. But we're constantly enrolling new kids, and the numbers fluctuate, but we estimate 1,800 kids that are eligible for the program in Macon County. So we just promote it as much as we can to let parents know that there really is no cost associated. And we just wanted to come to you guys and thank you and kind of give you an update of what your contribution has done and what we've been able to do so far. So, thank you guys. Do you have any questions about it at all?
Just a little mission about Read to Me, if you don't know, in Raleigh week before last, and certain speakers met with Senator Berger and the new guidelines for third graders. And why this is so important, it's estimated that 40% of all third graders will fail the reading part.
You'll be
We're going to have to go to summer school, and the payment for that summer school, where does it fall? But there are some variables that the counties can do. We did find that out. If you read the statute real close, there's some things that we can do. But the Read to Me program is one of those programs that, for very low money, that can help these kids.
It's $30 per child to receive 12 books, which is for one full year. It's just $30 a child.
That's a pretty good investment, Mr. Chairman.
And you guys, I know several of you commissioners have also donated individually, and we thank you guys for that as well. So you guys have done it as a group and individually. So we really appreciate that, and hope to keep pushing and do everything we can to get as many people, as many children signed up as possible. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany.
Very much. Mr. Vic Brunt is here to discuss the subject of embezzlement.
Gentlemen, it's been a long time since I've been up here. I've really missed you all. I know you've missed me too. I wanted to discuss the embezzlement situation and heard the wonderful news that Beth Wood is going to apparently get involved in the situation. So that is relieved one of the things that I was going to ask for this evening. I also want to comment on several newspaper articles that have been published over the last week. I want to thank the local media here for publishing my original open letter and keeping the citizens informed as far as possible on this alleged embezzlement. I thank you, County Manager, for your reply to my open letter. My letter and comments tonight are based on my years of experience working for one of the world's largest private sector corporations. For a number of years, I worked as a corporate purchasing agent, purchasing materials, equipment, and services valued from a few $1,000s to millions of dollars. I also held a job that was equivalent to your department heads. I'm well aware of the policies and procedures used by purchasing and finance departments to protect corporate assets from fraud. Since I wrote my open letter a week ago, additional details about the embezzlement have been discussed publicly by the county manager and finance director in interviews published last Wednesday in the Franklin Press. I'd like to highlight a couple of points from those interviews that concern me. The county manager continued to focus his public comments on updating practices and procedures in the finance department. I believe county taxpayers are looking for more, and I think this intervention by Beth Wood is a definite step in the right direction. The manager was also quoted as saying, quote, "Hindsight is 20/20. This has brought to light the need for some policies to be in place. In order for a policy to come onto the agenda, the situation has to occur to show and highlight the need for that policy." I hope that was a misquote or he misspoke, because finance policies and procedures must be proactive, not reactive, to deter fraud. Finance policies and procedures are not rocket science. There's no need for Macon County to reinvent the wheel here. Check with other counties in the region. What are they doing? In the same article, the finance director said, quote, "We don't really have a full-blown policy book. We do have an internal control memo, which is basically our procedures for finance." I say, really? Is a memo the best Macon County can manage? In the same article on the discussion of no W-9 forms for vendors and on social security numbers for vendors, the finance director said, quote, "So they could just make up a number even if we'd had a W-9 on file. There's still no way to verify information is correct." I say, again, I ask, really? It took me less than a minute to do a Google search on verified social security numbers. The top match was the Social Security Administration webpage, where a company can verify for free online social security numbers. Last Friday's editorial in the Franklin Press got it right. Quote, "Lackadaisical, wishy-washy, as convenient adherence to a bare bones, filed away and forgotten policy will no longer be accepted by the residents whose hard-earned dollars are trustingly given." I would insert taken instead of given into the county's care. I wish the paper had taken the additional position on the outside auditor, but that's a non-issue at this point. The February 5th edition of the Smoky Mountain News had an excellent investigative article titled, "What Happened to Internal Controls?" The article listed 7 breaches of accounting protocols in this embezzlement and how finance departments in Jackson, Haywood, and Swain have policies to combat these breaches. I'll stop there. I'm sure you get the point. I think Macon County residents who are aware of the embezzlement and some of the facts surrounding it have lost trust in how their tax dollars are being handled by the county. We are waiting patiently for action and information on how county leaders are going to respond. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vic.
Next, we have Todd Enns. I appreciate you being here. Todd is going to speak to Fields.
Hello, guys. Like I said, I was just here to speak on behalf of the children of Macon County about the ball fields and stuff that we're talking about at Parker Meadows. I know at one commissioners meeting before, I came and throw out some figures for, the travel ball, what we raise, what money will come into Macon County for the motels and all that. And I've even discussed that on Mr. Haven's Facebook page. The other big thing that we're talking about, I've heard people say, we're not for sure if we're going to do 2, 4, or 8 fields right now. It's important what it comes up to. But the way I look at it from the kids' aspect. Why halfway do something if you're going to do it? You're going to go into Walmart out here and them hanging the signs on it and a halfway deal, and then, you want to go to a nice place where everything's set up, fixed up. You want to have a state-of-the-art place, and you have a chance here to do it for your kids in Macon County. It may be $2 million to fix it now, but the way you look at it, you may say it only benefits 1,000 kids right now. We're looking at something over a lifetime. This will hit 1,000 kids this year, 1,000 kids next year. It's a prolonged thing. It hits these kids over the long haul. You might as well, if you've got the money, put it in, go ahead, take care of it. I'd rather have something, like I said, we'll take anything rather than nothing. But like I said, you don't want somebody to come out here and look, and you're out here and you've got 2 fields. That's not going to bring the people into Macon County to play in tournaments or anything. It's not going to do it. You've got to have a minimum of 4. Go ahead and take care of the kids in Macon County. Like I said, I'm a parent. I'm a concerned parent, and I think that's just what we need. You think about it. Like I said, y'all, competition is one of the biggest things that could ever be brought to people. That's the biggest desire people have. I'll sit here and bet and cut and up and go on with anybody, but I want competition. And that's what competition is built of. As a kid, you start early, you end in age. Right now, every year it's competition on y'all, on voting. I've got to get in here, I've got to get my stuff in to become a commissioner, state senator, everything I've got to do. It's all based on competition. If you don't start with a good base, then you have nothing in the long haul. It's all about the kids. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a spring chicken myself, but we've done our days. Our days are done. We're worried about the kids in Macon County, and if we don't take care of them, then it's downhill. But like I said, I appreciate you guys listening to me, but do what you can because these kids deserve it. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming here talking and then looking at Facebook. Thank you.
Todd, thank you. Todd's worked in our leadership organizations and all that for a lot of years, those of you who don't know him, so thank you for your volunteer efforts toward that.
You got my vote with that hat.
Georgetown? I thought that's not Clemson. Okay. I got you. We still love you, Todd. All right, we have Miss Linda Light that's here, and she is here to speak about Senator Bob Carpenter. Linda.
Distinguished Commissioners, it's my first time to address you. Most of you know or knew Senator Bob Carpenter. He was a distinguished and outstanding citizen of Franklin in Macon County and did 16 years in the Senate. I believe that was right.
Yes.
It has come to my understanding that somewhere along the line there was a resolution passed here to honor Bob Carpenter with naming a mile or a section of 441 South from the Henry Bridge headed toward Atlanta. And I don't know where it is. I've tried to get copies of it. I got a copy of page 1, and that just says this is a resolution, but page 2 tells us what it is, and I can't find it anywhere, and I'm asking you all to help me. And if we want to continue in that vein, or if we would want to entertain a resolution for naming the Macon County Community Facilities Building, the Carpenter Building, or the Parker Meadows, or whatever you fellas, you commissioners, I'd just like to have your opinion on it.
When was the thing
I
passed?
don't remember, Jim would have been here, we would have been here, I don't remember a resolution about naming a road.
That resolution was formulated, but it was never passed by the commission that I know of. I think it was just in its embryonic stages, and they were suggesting that they get one from the Macon County Commissioners and from the town of Franklin, and I talked to Warren Cave at the town of Franklin about having the town do one as well. So we may just start from ground zero.
Yeah, I was going to say, so nothing really has been started, so is there, when there a group of you that met and sort of talked about this? Or
Well, Sheriff Robbie Holland was in the group, and Helen Carpenter and myself.
If I bring something up about that, I believe you can remember. Chris Murray was, he was chairman of the Republican Party, was working on something or talking to some people about that.
I think he did. I think that was maybe when this was discussed. But
And it might be that he would.
So Ms. Helen is in full support of what?
Absolutely, and she calls me and asks me what's happening, and I need help.
Well, the process, I actually got a call yesterday from Roger West about some other issues, and this came up. Roger and I talked about it on the phone. And the process is the county commissioners request, this has to be done by the state, I believe the DOT has to do that. But they have to have a request from us, a resolution. I would think protocol would be we would get that to Senator Davis and to Representative West and let them carry the ball to the DOT. And then the DOT would vote to do that. Now, am I mistaken?
That's correct, and we need one from the town of Franklin as well.
Okay. So I have no problem if the thought is to designate the mile south of 440, south of the Henry Bridge.
Was it 1 mile or 5 miles, or do you remember?
I don't recall.
DOT.
Mainly, we need to talk to local government and see what they deem appropriate.
And the town of Franklin,
It would probably be more appropriate if you had it a mile. That would put the sign would be closer to the center where more people.
That's outside the city limits.
Yeah.
We started right there at the north end, at the south end of
South
Henry
end.
Bridge. When we take it, say, to the library, that's probably a mile.
You talk about coming in.
They're going either way.
Okay.
It's both ways.
No, I thought it was going out towards
Like there's a theater,
Atlanta.
like toward the theater. Movie theater.
What do I do next?
I think we need to put the resolution
Commissioners?
together.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
so who does that? And
We-
can I
we-
help, or
we-
y'all
we'll do
y'all
that.
do that?
Be happy to work on that, would be honored to work on that. I do think we need to begin focusing on whether we're gonna do a road or a ballpark, or we need to know that direction
Yeah.
first.
Well, I mean, I've heard all of that, but, you know, the original thing was to name the part of the road. We can certainly have
But
that discussion.
it's sort
But
of,
there are things that are within your control to do, and then there are things that we would have to have the state to weigh in on. And, you know, so that's the question, is do you want to be able to take the bull by the horns and make that decision? Or do you want to partner with the state and let it be two government bodies.
My understanding is that the protocol is it starts here. We create the resolution.
If you're gonna do
and then
a
Roger
road,
West will
absolutely.
That is
volunteer to take it to Raleigh for us.
I think they would want to hear from this board as to a recommendation. And then they would go from there and make whatever decision they're
What?
going to make.
So what's my next step?
I think if we're gonna do a road, I think we need to identify the road and the specific name that we would like to be used, and I'd be happy to work on
Thank you.
it. Sure. Well, she's. Great school.
Don't you do?
Linda, go ahead. I mean, we certainly respect what you think, and certainly Ms. Helen, is the thought to do, is a road the thing, that, or you mentioned the community building, and what, I mean, we just throw this out.
Just options, plenty
For
of
argument's
options.
sake, if we did that, we could do that, we could do that. We don't
County on.
That was my point, is that
It'd be
it could
easier to
happen,
do a deal.
and there wouldn't
And,
be a need.
and let me throw this out for discussion too, about appropriateness of this, naming a highway from him, that you're naming a section of highway. Bob was, I don't know how many of you know, but I know when I was little, I grew up with his kids. He was very
He was
active,
Little League.
Little League coach,
Little League coach.
coached basketball, coached baseball, so he was very active in that Little League sports, so.
And getting the road name
Naming that was not
think
so
there'd be
easy,
any objection to
what
that. Jim will
I
say.
don't think so at all. I think that would be a good idea.
I'd say
I'm actually
that.
gonna have to start
For the-
looking at changing the sign out front
For the
anyway, so
facilities
that would
building?
be a good time.
Because it's got such a long name, you know.
Yeah.
We will,
The carpet building would be.
Jessica, could you put a resolution together for that? The thing about a road, we found out with the Henry Bridge is Linda, now you have to, it's not just going to the
It's a lot of
local.
work.
You go to Raleigh, I went to the committee 3 times, and it's a.
Well,
And it may be
And-
that way now, but it may not be that way.
But
It's
But
tough.
if we name the community building for him, that's something.
That's something going
that'd
back
be
to
awesome.
And
That'd
Do
be
we need
awesome.
public input, I mean, or we just make that decision among this body?
I think we have the ability.
We are
to- you have to-
representing the public. You do
I would
represent.
like to get Seth involved in coming up with the name.
At this point, we're not voting on a resolution because it doesn't exist, but in
Right.
the theory of what we're talking about,
Theory.
Ron, do you have general agreement with you to do that? Ronnie?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, so I think you got a consensus to proceed and come back with us with a resolution, so that's the next step.
So I will get with
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
And I think you need to think in terms of when you name that, what the signage is gonna look like and how you're gonna call it.
Yeah.
Are you gonna call it the Carpenter Building, and you're gonna call it, you know, what are you gonna?
City carpenter,
Yeah.
municipal.
You could answer.
Somebody said something
Very
about
shorter.
that. Send Bob Carpenter Hall.
Senator Ball.
Carpenter Hall.
What would they skate them out there?
Huh?
What would they skate them out there?
You gonna put on this petition?
All right, Linda, that's a great project, and thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Very
Thank you,
much.
Linda.
And Chester, if you would, I don't see a reason we couldn't address that at our March meeting. No problem. So, Mr. Manager and Mike, if we put that on the agenda for our March meeting, we'll take care of that. Okay, thank you very much. Next, was anybody else to speak to the board? That was all we had signed up. Yes, sir. You wanted?
My name's Butch Ginn. I just wanted to go a little farther with what Todd Hensley said.
What was your last name, Butch?
Gene, Jean.
Butch Gene, and you're gonna talk about the
The Parker man.
ball fields, okay?
I mean, I've been on the Little League board and highly active with that for the last 5 years, and obviously what Todd's saying is the kids definitely need that. And we could stop there and just get 2 or 3 more fields and use what we have, but we're also very highly involved in the travel ball thing, and I know y'all probably heard that horse beat to death. And I know Ronnie sees me all the time out there with the kids, and we're at the batting cages and stuff, and we do that nonstop. And we travel around and go to tournaments, and a lot of people are interested in coming to Franklin. People just think this would be a great place, especially in the summertime when it's hot everywhere else. We've been to several places, and sometimes when we get there, we go, man, we're never coming back here. And I think y'all have an excellent opportunity for all the people in this county. If we did it and did it right, because I can just tell you from my own experience from going around all this part of the country, if it's not good, the people are not going to ever come back. So you almost get a one-shot deal at it. And I just brought this shirt, and I actually grabbed the wrong one. I had one with, if y'all see that, every one of them lines on there is a team that participated in this tournament. And this, you can see, is just in Canton. It's not Charlotte or anything like that. So whatever happens in Canton can certainly happen in Franklin. And if you take them lines there and multiply every one of them by 3 minimum, that's how many people showed up. If you have that child and their parents, that's an awful lot of people.
Each team would be 10 or 12 players.
10 to 12. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, okay, yeah. So you're looking probably an average of 30 to 40 people per line on that shirt. Of course, all of them are not going to stay, but if it's a 2-day tournament, every one of them people are going to eat at least 2 or 3 times. And you can see by that, and like I say, I actually had another shirt and I grabbed the wrong one, and it was covered all the way down. That was what they call a super NIT tournament. This was just an average tournament. And there's people from Clayton trying to make tournaments, people from Murphy, Hayesville, all around here, Cherokee. And everybody says, man, if we could have something in the middle, we could really have some really good tournaments. So, we need these fields for the kids and all, but I think if we did this and did it right, it would help offset the expenditures. I mean, I'm a conservative Republican, and I don't want to spend government money more than any of y'all probably do either. I'm kind of old too, and I know we're just wasting it away. But if we did this and did it right, it would be not an expense for the Little League kids of Franklin, which is a great thing, because ball fields are cheaper than prisons, and kids that do this kind of stuff don't end up in prison. And if we had something that would become almost a commercial enterprise that would help offset the cost of this over the next 20 years or whatever, because this is basically a one-time investment with a small maintenance upkeep. And I, like Ronnie, I've been a contractor my whole life, and you know as well as I do, if you piecemeal a job, it's going to cost you more than if you set up, get the thing done, get your stuff, and get out. If you got to set up 10 or 12 times, you're going to pay double the cost. And I think if you look at it from the travel ball aspect, you don't have the opportunity to set up and tear down 4 or 5 times. These people are going to come. If they don't like it, they're never coming back. If somebody comes here from Charlotte, they're not going to come back every 6 months. Have they got another field yet? They're going to say, that's it, I ain't coming back there. I don't ever going back there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anybody else to speak to the board? All right, if not, we'll declare a public comment period closed. Gentlemen, any line 7 there, adjustments and approval of the agenda. Derek, I think you had something to add.
Yes, sir. I've got a few things. I don't know if anybody, we need to add under appointments. We need to add appointment of Bill Futrell to the Macon County Economic Development Commission.
The Highlands Economic
He will be replacing Brian Steeler, who represented the Highlands already, now the Highlands representative, so he will be the Highlands representative on that committee. Under new business, we need to add the Macon County Planning Board's presentation of the county-owned properties, the research and the work they've been doing on that. Under new business, we also need to add, and this is going back to some of the discussions that we had at our work session in January, we have the first draft of a contract from Ridenhour and Goss. That is, if you'll recall, who that Richard Leitner of the tax department was asking if he could pursue working with them to collect some delinquent taxes. We do have that contract here, as well as with that contract, some comments that the county attorney has made upon review of that contract. And if, at the pleasure of the board, I'd like to go ahead and discuss that, and as well as the changes that have been recommended by our attorney. Also, on new business, we can add this under item 10B. It is going to be the discussion of the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund project agreement. And then lastly, in old business, I would like to add the discussion of the interlocal agreement and contract between Veterans Transportation Project in Macon County, Clay County, Cherokee County, and Swain County. I misspoke. I have one more item. Under new business, we need to also add the Cowley School agreement for tree removal with Appalachian tree growths.
Okay. So that's adding, under new business, we'll make Macon County Planning Board 10C. 10D will be collection of delinquent taxes. 10E, Cowley School agreement for tree removal. And then under number 12F would be the EDC Highlands representative. Does that represent what you need to do there?
What was D again?
D was collection of delinquent taxes, 10D.
Okay, and that interlocal agreement?
I had that as, well, I had that as old business under 9B.
9B, okay.
Since that had been discussed before.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I believe we will need to remove item 8A, the presentation of the audit report.
Okay.
And item 8C, the presentation by Macon County WNC Team Institute. This range will not be able to be.
Okay. So we'll delete those two. We have one item under 8. That would be 8A, presentation regarding Evergreen Foundation, Denise Coleman. Okay. Any else about anything? Any commissioner have anything to add to it, or delete or modify?
I want to ask a question. Something come up with Cowley School real quick. There's some sort of a swing, an old swing down there. Somebody sent me an email on to ask about it. They wanted to put it in some kind of a, not some personal, something for the public. Any others know anything about that? Old swing?
I do not.
Derek, have been made aware of anything?
Derek, can you check on that?
Yes, sir.
I'm not aware of that, Ron.
They
Thank you for bringing
were
that.
asking that if it could be donated to, like some, it'd be something else for the county. It's not some private. And I told them I'd ask.
Okay, appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else to be added, deleted, or modified on the agenda? If not, a motion to approve the agenda as amended will be in order.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion for approval of the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Moving right into 8, we only have one item, presentation regarding the Evergreen Foundation. We have Denise Coleman. Denise, welcome. Glad you're here.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk with you this evening. As Chairman Corbin said, my name is Denise Coleman, and I'm here to represent the Evergreen Foundation. I've been assisting the Evergreen Foundation for about the last year in doing some public relations and education activities for the foundation. Are you all familiar with the Evergreen Foundation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but anyway, it was formed in 1977 as a separate not-for-profit company by the Board of Directors of Smoky Mountain Mental Health. The purpose of the foundation was to provide a place to hold funds that could later provide financial support of their mental health, developmental disability, and substance abuse services. which at that time were all provided by Smoky Mountain Mental Health. So in keeping with that purpose, the foundation is continuing to provide support to the private service providers in our 7 western counties that are now responsible for the mental health, developmental disability, and substance abuse services. The funding with the Evergreen Foundation is allocated through a grant process by the Evergreen Board of Directors on a quarterly basis. I believe in your packets you all have an annual report that Mr. Decker put in there. This is the first year that the foundation has done an annual report, and I just wanted to kind of go through it with you. The first section, of course, is the mission and vision and activities of the foundation, which I think were finalized about a year ago. At the bottom are the board of directors. Since this time, we have added a board member from Cherokee County, which is John Snow. The next page has the assets of the foundation. We have about $14.5 million in investments, and the property of the Evergreen Foundation is valued at about $5.5 million. All of the properties that Evergreen Foundation has throughout the 7 western counties are rented below fair market value based on the rental rates of similar property in the area. We have everything from like large office buildings such as the one used by Meridian and Appalachian here in Macon County, to homes rented to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities or mental health issues, group homes, and then we have some homes where people have an alternative family living or support someone within the home. This past year, our income from rentals and investments was a little over $2 million, and our expenses were close to $1 million. And as you can see, a large portion of the expenses goes to depreciation since we have so much property. And then there are a lot of legal fees as well as administration and audit fees. Right now, we're trying to get more information out to the private service providers to make sure everyone is aware of all of the grants that are available. This year, funding has been provided to all of our counties, either through an agency that serves 7 counties or to providers that serve groups of counties or even individual counties. The graph on page 5 shows the funding by the different priority areas, with the bulk of it going towards the mental health disability. Other amounts going to co-occurring disabilities, and some going to just developmental disabilities. As you can see at the top, these are the grants that were issued during the 2012-2013 fiscal year. Not only were these grants, there were actually 17 grants issued. Some of the organizations received multiple grants. And I believe 7 of those would have touched Macon County. 7 of those agencies provide services in Macon County. The next pages are a message from the Board of Directors written by Marty Heidecker, who's the board chair. And he wrote this in December, and this kind of gives kind of a catch up on the first half of the fiscal year. We allocated $237,000 in grant money this past year, and for this current year, we've already provided $370,000 in grants, and going into our 4th quarter allocations, we have almost $400,000 more that will be provided to mental health, developmental disability, and substance abuse programs. But anyway, I'm just here tonight just to kind of give you an update and let you know that we are going to be doing more to get information out to the private providers and try to make sure that we maintain our viability of all of our mental health, substance abuse, and developmental disability services in our 7 western counties, which I think is so very important. Any questions?
Lonnie's our resident expert on mental health, and he's all for it. And we've all had friends who've tried to get into the system. On your balance sheet, you're showing assets, and I'm not picking, I appreciate everything. This is a worthy product. On your balance sheet, your assets are what, 21 million? What form is it here?
Well, there's about 14.5 in investments, 5.5 in property, some in cash, and then there's the accounts receivable, which is a small amount.
So investments, what is that?
These are just, cash investments. And actually, the foundation operate out of the revenues from the property and the investment interest. And as the economy gets better, then there should be more grant money to be allocated, which if you're very familiar with mental health, you know that the system is getting harder and harder for people, for small providers and people to stay afloat. So hopefully the Evergreen Foundation will be able to support our provider network and maintain a presence in our 7 western counties.
I just have one question. I'm very familiar with the Evergreen Foundation, as you know. The Evergreen Foundation, as you know, board, this is the first report you've ever seen from the Evergreen Foundation, ever. You've been in business how long?
That's 1977 is when the foundation was formed.
This is the first money we've ever seen. Daylight. In daylight, so it's encouraging to see that. We've asked for it for a long time. What I'd like to know is, how do you determine the community need of who needs these services? I mean, we're mandated through the LME to do specific things to know who needs the need. How do you all assess who needs the grants? What process do you use?
The board of directors reviews the grants. We have an open
You know the
solicitation.
board get their information?
I've actually filled out grants, so I fill out the grant form and provide all the information. And
but the state is very strict, you know, on what we're doing now, on who gets what, and this being, and this would qualify. I just wonder where you got the information.
yeah, the information that, or the people that request grants, I mean, right now, there's a grant for the new shelter for replacing Hawthorne Heights. They've done grants to Macon citizens to move get a new greenhouse. So there's been a lot of,
Well, we're proud that, you know, I'm no more proud of Evergreen did not make a grant dispersed for over 10 years. So we're glad that it's coming to light and Evergreen's stepping out and helping the community. We're really glad that.
it could never be more needed. I've been in the private provider network for 22 years.
10 years we asked for it, so we're glad it's coming.
Well, hopefully you will see more and more of it. If you ever have any questions, I'm just doing a very small part of Evergreen, but if you ever have any questions, please let me know. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. That completes our reports and presentations under old business. Mr. Attorney, we have a consideration of a contract with CenturyLink and also Emergency Services Director David Key. We recognize you, gentlemen, sure this time. And David came to us, I think, last meeting with that.
I believe it was last meeting when we brought that, and we approved funds to be transferred from the 911 fund over into an account where we can purchase this contract. I'd like to give Chester lots of credit for his due diligence on this contract and his sanity that he has worked with over the last month. And I think we have a finished product, but we don't have it.
We're about this, literally this close. We spent the better part of today negotiating telephone conference calls and whatnot, the details, and I think we're pretty well settled on everything. The problem is time just ran out. It got to be about 4:30 or 5 o'clock when we got the details ironed out. And understand this is what, all total, between 50 and 100 page contract.
At least, yes.
Yeah, it's a long, well, it's multiple contracts is what it is. It's not something that needed to be thrown together at the last minute trying to make it here this evening. But nevertheless, the county emergency department as well as CenturyLink do need for this to be approved just as quickly as possible. And I spoke with the project manager for the project with CenturyLink, as well as David, as well as Chairman Corbin, about the possibility of this board recessing this meeting to perhaps maybe Tuesday of next week, with the idea of having the final document in your hand before then to look at, review, and approve. Quite candidly, this is a project that's got a fairly short timeline. As you'll recall, there was through the hard work of David Key and Todd Siegel, there was a substantial grant received from the 911 board. And you correct me if I'm wrong on my details here, but the bottom line is that money has got to be spent on this project and this project completed, as I understand it, by the 1st of July.
By June 1st.
June 1st.
Not July July 1st. It'd be June.
What you talking about?
I'm 99% sure it was June 1st.
Well, we need to check that because right now, the documents that have been circulating have the completion date
Of July.
of June 15th. And we thought we had a 2-week buffer there.
Okay.
So if you want to check and let me know, that's one more point.
Picture table.
Yeah.
But we were granted that money as an emergency fix for the phone system that we have. Their concern is that if we don't get it done by that time, was it really an emergency fix that we needed, and then those funds will come into question. So we do really need to get that done and to expedite, to wait until next month's meeting to get that.
Yeah, that's the point. We can't.
We won't get the project completed.
I told these guys I would have no problem us adjourning the meeting, and we'll meet briefly next Tuesday night. If there's anything else, Derek, to come up, we'll just continue this meeting. That way we can take care of other business.
Does Lee understand that timeline?
Yes, he's fully aware of that timeline.
Is he okay with that?
I mean, does he understand the
Yes.
June 1
Yes.
date if that is in fact?
Yes, that night he was here. Actually, I mentioned in the 90-day completion, and he corrected me and said 120. So as long as we can get it in within 120 days, we'll be good.
So the short story, we're just authorizing or accepting the transfer of the funds from the 911 fund to Century Meeting.
Actually, no, that's already been.
120 days is going to be beyond June 1.
That's 4 months.
He is assuring us that he would have it done before the deadline. So.
Yeah, but the deadline that has been circulating is this draft is June 15th. That needs to be changed.
June 15th is more realistic in my mind than I thought you said July 1.
Well, that's what I was thinking the requirements of the grant was. And so I backed it up 2 weeks with the idea that it gives us a little bit of time to process payments and get that done.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. June 15th?
Okay, we'll, you and everybody agree to recess till next Tuesday?
Thank you.
Keith, while you're here, can you give us an update on the 2 new ambulances?
They are stocked and ready. Our state inspector was supposed to be
Did you
here
get a cord?
tomorrow.
The only company in the world made some ships from
We did get those in
overseas?
mail. We did get those last Thursday.
When do you think they'll be on the road?
Hopefully, if the inspector can get here tomorrow, they'll be on the road tomorrow.
If he can get here.
If he can get here. I have spoken with him. We have an unofficial okay from him that if we need to during this storm, then put them in service.
Who's your inspector?
His name is Jim Morris.
Where's he from?
He comes from, he lives in Kent. Clyde Kent. So,
He may not be able to go tomorrow?
he may not be able to get here tomorrow. No.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
David, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Dave, very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think we've agreed to recess till next Tuesday. We'll do that officially at the end of the meeting. Thank you. We have next is interlocal agreement with Macon County Transit, and Kim, recognize you, and Chester as well on this item. Which I've been involved with this. I'm her liaison.
Can I just ask one question for Kim? Is this Martin Stars, is that how much time, do we have time on that? I mean, I know we're not here, but I know it's usually they give us a drop dead date, so I've read through this, I don't see it nowhere in Chester.
The presentation of the audit, I'm not, off the cuff, I'm not sure if there is a drop dead date on it.
They're not here, so.
They didn't make it because of the weather.
Yeah, I think that was
They're
the
coming
bottom
from
line.
Hickory. They did offer, since we're recessing until next Tuesday, they can show up then
Okay.
if they're, I'm sure they
Okay,
have.
good.
Because they
Okay,
offered,
great.
if we met before our March meeting, they'd be glad to come in. You know, they apologize, because of course, 2 months in a row.
They want to do it before March, I always know that.
So,
That's fine. Just add them to the agenda, please.
All right, thank you.
All right, Kim.
Okay. Let's talk about the Veterans Project.
Several months ago, I came and if you'll recall, presented the grant project that we had proposed, federal grant that funds 80% of the project. All in a nutshell, basically what the project's intent is to provide access to veterans for more transportation options. And basically what we have done is decided to partner with Clay County, Cherokee County, and Swain Transit, which is actually housed under the state of Franklin and Bryson City. And of course, we got the grant. We've been moving forward. The grant's a little over $500,000 in total. And again, it's an 80-20. The good part about the 20 is we get to share that with at least 3 other partners who are transportation systems. So basically what the project will do is allow all of the transit systems to either upgrade or install new software for scheduling, dispatching, and billing. It will allow us to go from paper manifests to tablets within the vehicles that the driver, everything will become electronic then when they come in the afternoon. Their information will download electronically. What's called an IVR, that's short for Interactive Voice Recognition System. That's a system where either veterans and their families, their representatives, and also the benefit is anybody who uses any of the systems will be able to call in, they'll be able to check their transportation requests they have on file with each transit system. There's also a component that will call out. We spend a lot of time from about 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon fielding phone calls of what time are you coming to get me tomorrow? And this will automatically do that. So it'll cut down on a lot of the incoming phone calls that we do, which just as a side note can be over 100 phone calls in a day very easily in our office. The other portion is a website, which will also, in its finality, be an interactive website where veterans, their families, their veterans representatives can go on and check to see if there's transportation service available for this particular veteran and potentially book that request there online. So we're really excited. The technology is incredible. It is a multi-county project. Macon County is acting as the lead agency, so we've taken on the whole ball of wax as far as responsibility for this grant. And the match, the way Chester and I have had multiple conversations over the last few months. Lori has been involved in a few of them. Since we're taking on the responsibility, we made sure that we were meeting the provisions of the general statute that requires the request for proposal. All of the guidelines in that general statute were followed. Basically, we were allowed to do the request for proposal instead of an advertisement for bids. The RFP recognizes the complex and innovative nature of information technology goods and services and the desirability of a single point of responsibility for contracts that include combination of purchase of goods, design, installation, training, operation, maintenance, and related services. The bids went out in November, and we opened bids in January. We only received 1 bid, but under the federal regulations, since it is not a construction project, we were not required to have a minimum number of bids. So we documented.
Technically, it's a proposal.
Right.
Which is a little different than the bid, where you give specifications for what you want, and then they give you a price for it. Request for a proposal is saying, we're not experts in this field. We need an expert to come in and help us design and put this project together and spec it out, and basically you reward on the strength of the I think the term is it is awarded to the proposal which the county finds to be the best overall proposal, considering the various factors given to the proposers to make their proposal. And you need to understand, as part of this request for proposal, Kim sat down with a representative from, I believe, NC State University.
Who handles
who's a
the technology
consultant,
requirements for 20.
and they sat down, and I know they worked at least a full day or two because I was working with them that much myself. And I know they worked even more than that in putting that proposal together and putting together the criteria that had to be considered in putting this together. The bottom line is basically we are seeking out not only just the price, but somebody who has great expertise in this area that can pull all the pieces of the puzzle together and come up with a system that will work. The one beauty, even though we got just one proposal, this particular proposal, I understand, is from a vendor who actually has experience with this particular type of project. And I understand maybe as many as 4.
At least 4.
Yeah.
Nationwide, yes. And they're actually my current software vendor too, so I actually have working experience with him, which increases the confidence level on that. Lindsay McConnell, who is the purchasing agent for Macon County, I worked through her to make sure that everything got advertised right and was followed. Even though we received the one, we are, the name of the company is called HB Software Solutions. They're a Massachusetts-based company. The one thing that we didn't mention when Chester was talking, or I was talking, is that this is a virtual call center. It's called a one call, one click center. Everything will be virtual. The only hardware that we will be purchasing are the actual tablets that go in the vehicles. Everything else will be done via cloud-based or online. However, the technology.
Can I just ask one question, Ken?
Yes.
Not that I understand it all, but I think it's a great program.
Okay.
And I think it certainly looks good on your department to be the head of that lead agency on this. But on page 7, it says Macon County shall pay blank. Clay County shall pay some blank. Cherokee
And I'll be glad to
blank.
fill those blanks in for you right now.
Okay. My main question is on, as you read down through there, if there's any money left off of this project, that money can be reimbursed to pay for the 20%. Did I read that right? If there's any money left out of the
I
project.
don't believe that's correct.
No, what you're
I
reading
figured it's
is.
too good to be true.
Okay.
When did you read this?
Huh?
When did you read this?
While I was talking.
Yeah, we just got it. It's about
I know,
20
I
pages. It's
understand.
got-
What you're reading is, let me fill in the blanks first. Okay. Macon County's portion is going to be $18,110.
15,000.
110.
What's the total grant?
The total grant, wait a minute.
$574,000.
No, that's the total project.
Oh.
The grant is 400. I'll give you-
459,000, I want to say.
459,873.
Yeah, there
What
we
is
go.
there?
459,873.
That's the federal portion.
That's the federal.
That's the
What other
federal.
portions are in, what other portions we get? State?
No, those are administered by the state, but they're actually federal dollars.
Yes.
Okay?
It's an 80-20 split. 80% comes from the federal and 20% is local
Local.
dollars.
Local.
Go ahead.
Clay County is also 18,110. Cherokee County is also 18,110. And the state of Franklin is 16,500. And the difference is because Swain County has fewer vehicles. So they will be purchasing less license, less tablets for the drivers. So that makes the difference in the cost.
So every county gets the same hardware, software, whatever.
Everybody gets the same thing. It's just the different numbers based on the numbers of vehicles. Clay, Cherokee, and Macon County all have the same number of vehicles, and Swain County has.
I'd like to, you read, I just I'd like to read that.
Well,
What kind of action?
Just tackle that next paragraph so I understand. In the event of this project does not cost the full anticipated sum of $574,872, then each party shall hereunto be entitled to return the portion of the funds that is responsible for as part of the 20% local share to be calculated as follows. Proceeding to 20% projected local share in the amount of $115,000 that a given party was required to pay hereunto times the difference between the amount of actual local match required and hereunder and projected local match of $115,000.
Yes. That means, in the RFP, myself, Clay, Cherokee, and Swain were the primary or the initial named parties.
Right.
There was also an extra, we asked for extra information if we wanted to add another transit system. Jackson County, Haywood, Eastern Band, Grayson County. If another county, another transit system comes in with us, that lowers the amount that we have to pay. For example, we have been talking to Jackson County about coming in. If that happens, Macon County, Cherokee County, and Clay County portions then go to $16,904.
In a nutshell, basically, we've got a total project budget, but the project may not end up costing that full amount. But we've collected, or we're asking for proportions from the various counties as if the project is going to cost the full budget. Does that make sense? But if it doesn't end up costing that, then each party to this agreement should get some of that money back because it is being.
Well, that's what I asked.
Yeah.
We're going to ask them for their share up front, so that Macon County isn't fronting everybody's 20%.
We didn't think it was a
We're
good
gonna
idea
give
to
a check.
front.
Yeah, that's why I want to make sure we're not, first of all, we're not fronting it all.
No.
And second of all, if we are paying more than anybody else, and if it don't go over, we should get a little bit more of our percentage back.
Everybody is going to get a percentage back if they don't spend the full amount, basically.
Yes.
If you take on Jackson County, you still got that $460,000 grant. Is that going to buy the same amount of stuff for Jackson and all these other counties? I mean,
Yes.
if Jackson should come in, what we've discussed, if that should happen, there will be a need for a second interlocal agreement to adjust whatever issues that are risen by that. It is not certain that that's going to happen. And so there's some contingencies there that have got to be explored. It may happen, it may not happen, but we're ready to deal with it if it does.
At the end of the day, with Jackson, if any other comes in, you said it would just lower ours $2,000 each. That's just $6,000. So what would Jackson end up paying?
Jackson would be about 16,200.
So everybody pay the same thing.
Everybody's about the same thing. And the total project approved was the 574, and the total match is 115. If Jackson does not come in, the cost is going to be somewhere around 480,000, the total. If we bring Jackson in, the total cost of the project is going to be 536. So it's a benefit to us to bring in more people because we draw down more money and it ends up costing us less in cost share. Does that make sense? It does to me, but I've lived this for about 2 years now.
The whole idea is to benefit veterans.
The whole idea is to benefit the veterans.
That's the main thing.
Now, one thing, you and I may need to talk a little bit about these numbers. Those numbers, I don't think, I may have to do my math, but I don't think those are going to add up to a 20% match. I don't believe it.
No, because the grant was approved with at $25,000 in in-kind.
Okay.
So $25,000 is an in-kind match that we don't have to come up with cash. And, it's...
Well, in that vein, Mr. Dill's raising that question, I think, becomes very valuable because there will need to be a little bit of adjustment to that language because, you could end up having to pay some money back that you really shouldn't have to.
That's right.
Who's providing the in-kinds, just so that I'm clear on
Each
that.
system will have to report. I mean, we divided the 25,000
Okay.
equally.
I'll get with you about that.
Yes.
Will one more week make a difference to you, Kim, to give time to get these numbers right?
Yeah,
And
I was gonna say,
Till Tuesday night?
yeah, and in defense of Kim as her liaison, I know that she and Chester have been trying to get together to get this done. Everything doesn't always work in perfect timing with commissioners meetings. They really didn't get this completed till yesterday, so quite wasn't in the packet. I was aware of that, but I hadn't seen it either. But I think that's a fair request, no reflection on you.
No.
Let us read this, and we've got a meeting already for next Tuesday. We'll have 4 or 5 items on.
Not a problem.
So let's just move it.
Because there are a number of things that we're asking you to do.
And we hadn't had time to read it. We generally do, but these guys are all good about coming up with questions, and we haven't had time to do that.
What's the other status of the other counties? What are you hearing? Are they going to approve?
Well, Chester just got me the final copy of the interlocal agreement, so I'm sending it out to them. And they will take it to their respective boards.
So your agreement so far in your contact's been with the transit directors of these respective counties?
Yes, and their counties will then pass a resolution.
Yeah, I think this one is pretty much a no-brainer for the other counties. Macon County is doing the heavy lifting as the lead agency. It has done the lion's share of the work by coordinating the efforts of the various directors and working with each of them to make sure that everybody's on board there. Furthermore, the grant process, the contract process, the request for proposal process, the advertising, those are things that Kim has taken on with the blessings of this board being the lead agency. And so the other entities, this is a great deal for them. They make their contribution and
get
the good stuff.
They chose the right agency, Kim, and you'll do a great job. But the heavy burden is on you.
Yeah, these other counties, we really can't execute this document until we know that everybody's on board, right? If we're the lead agency?
well, no, I think the bottom line is each of the parties to the agreement are going to need to take action to either approve or not approve that interlocal.
And if they non-approve it,
then we'll either have to go with 3 or we'll, you know.
that's what I'm saying, before we get our numbers locked in here, we may make sure everybody else is on board. I mean, certainly all the transit directors are on board, but they've got to show their boards, and we don't know, Ryan may know it better how.
I think the indication is there's not going to be an issue there. Is that
2 of the
correct?
3 already have it in their current budgets.
It's
They have
no-brainer
already
for
talked to
them.
their
Yeah,
boards.
that's
When I
sort of
started
the way I'm
talking to
looking
you,
at
they
it.
were talking to them.
Does this require, and again, with being the lead agency and taking the lead and doing all the heavy lifting, moving from here forward, is this going to place any additional demands on you operations-wise? In other words, is this going to require, is this going to have an effect moving forward on your operating budget?
No. His answer we won't.
It will in 2 years, because after everything's said and done, we will still have to pay hosting and maintenance fees, which we do currently anyway. We will have to pay the data fees for use of the tablets because it comes across the wireless. And we will have to pay the maintenance.
And
The
that's
hosting and
all
maintenance
part of
fee.
being the host? That's all, or is
No,
that?
other counties
Those
will be
will all be
paying those
sharing
things
too.
too.
Yeah, those costs will be shared costs again, and that's built into the interlocal agreement, is that they understand.
But in terms of demand, I mean, this just makes it more, this allows you to provide a better service to veterans that you're already providing a
It
service
does,
to.
and you know, and then obviously it will be to go out and talk to the veteran, like the veterans groups.
Right.
And the veteran services officers we've talked to, the Veterans Hospital, because Clay and Cherokee County go to Atlanta to the Veterans Hospital, and Asheville as well, whereas we go to Asheville, and Jackson goes to Asheville. Jackson's very interested because of
We
the
come around and make a motion to
coordination.
table Kim's request until next Tuesday and give
Is
us
that
all
okay?
a chance.
I'm good
Kim
with
can
that.
have more
But
information.
if we're gonna talk about it, we're not taking action now anyway. Let's table it, and we'll, Mike, we'll put that on our agenda for next Tuesday.
And if you have questions in the meantime, You know, obviously, I've spent 2 years doing this, and so I'm up here thinking, well, you should get this, but I understand, you know, you haven't spent 2 years, but it's not become part of your life lately, so please feel free to call me. I will be glad to. I'm very passionate about this project, and it's a great thing for Macon County and this whole western region.
Is delivery of services to veterans a problem now? And delivery of your services to veterans, is that a problem now?
Not as a general rule.
How will this enhance that?
What you're gonna be able to do, probably the best description of this is, instead of Cherokee County, Clay County, Macon County, and the state of Franklin, all carrying one veteran to OTEAM. This system will, in effect, be like a clearinghouse. And those 4 guys that need to go to OTEAM, through this clearinghouse, they can figure out the most efficient way to get them there instead of running 4 vehicles to OTEAM. What you may have is Cherokee County grabbing the patient from Cherokee County, the patient from Clay County, and bringing them to Macon County. It goes and goes on from there, you know, with those. The idea is, instead of running 4 vans over there, we'll run 1.
And we do that.
We
go to Asheville every day.
Every day.
And we do that currently with Clay County. We do coordinate, but it's my scheduler has to call her scheduler and see if they're going and if they're doing this. And with this, it gives us an opportunity to look to see, oh, well, look, Cherokee County's going, so we don't.
And this can be done on the fly, because they will actually have some sort of a tablet, something like an iPad or something on that line with a data thing, and it could be like, you know, at the last minute, somebody could say, if you got somebody going to Atlanta, or you got somebody going to Johnson City, you got somebody going to
If I'm not mistaken, I think they done said about 65% of our veterans are using OT. Macon County, there's a lot of veterans places, you know.
On that, we probably go 4 out of the 5 days.
But that's not just veterans.
No, that's 4 out of the 5 days we go to the VA when we're going. I mean, we're going to Asheville for lots of other reasons. It's not uncommon for us to have 5 or 6 people going to Asheville, but we have at least 1 or 2 veterans, and I'm still yapping, so I don't.
No, that's good.
Good information, Kim.
But I'll be glad to
First, no
answer
more
any
discussion. We'll table that and be prepared to come back and answer any final questions. And we'll stay between these. Okay with that.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Kim, thank you for the good job you
Thank you
did.
very much.
Thank you.
I think we need to take a short break now when we finish this.
Yes, I do.
9, so let's take about a 10-minute break and we'll come back and start with you guys.
And so, it says that.
Huh?
Pork chop out of his mouth, 3 months.
All right. Reconvene. Under new business, consideration of audit contract for fiscal year 2013-14. Lori.
Thank you, Kevin. Back in late 2011, I believe it was either late 2011 or early 2012, the Board of Commissioners had approved basically a 3-year fee structure for Martin Stearns and Associates, which covered fiscal years 12, 13, and 14. So this contract, but even though you all approved kind of like a 3-year plan with these fees, the Local Government Commission requires that every year you approve each fiscal year's contract individually. So that's what's before you tonight. That's for them to audit the fiscal year that we're about to end June 30th. We need to get this contract approved by you all, sent to the Local Government Commission, so we can schedule them to come out for interim work probably in April.
That's your recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Derek, that's your recommendation? Yes, sir.
Do we need to move on that tonight or wait to do it when we have them in front of us next week? I just had a couple.
This you could move on tonight. I mean, it's separate from the report that we give on last fiscal year. I mean, that's your choice.
Okay, gentlemen, your choice.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
and I know Lori's already filled us in, but the scope of services within that contract, you know, I mean, we're having some issues now with our finance stuff here, not finance, but the issue that's made the headline. And I noticed in reading last year's Martin Starnes report, they mentioned that they have no control over internal functions. What's the word? Internal programs. And if they don't look at that, you know, what is the, let me see how they term that. Hey, take your time, we got all that.
They do take a look at our internal control structure.
Internal control,
But
yeah.
not to, you know, you've got to understand all the transactions the county processes. They randomly select accounts payable, payroll, et cetera, cash transactions, you know, and all of it. They can't look at bullshit.
They don't do a
And
complete.
any firm you hire is going to be the same way.
It's an overview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any firm.
They don't look at every
contract
single
or
trend.
stuff.
And also, one thing they mentioned too, and I know that when our local school system, you're a small county, in an ideal world, you have a complete separation of duties of people in the finance department, et cetera, and we're not large enough to do that. I know that's something that's been mentioned in the past. I'm not sure that's what you're referring to.
Oh, I just wondered what their scope of services, so their services is a general overview.
It's a random sample.
Yeah, because they state a number of times in previous ones that they do not even look, it says, the internal control is the responsibility of the local finance department.
Yeah.
And that's to protect themselves. And if you picked up any county or city
That's a
across the
standard.
state, it's standard language that they have to do to see why.
But on the flip
Disclaimers.
side, if you have some questions about controls or how to implement better controls, they certainly are available to consult with you and work with you.
That's what I was
Yeah.
asking, is
Yeah.
when we structured this contract, then we asked for the general standard auditing, I guess meet the general statutes requirement.
Correct.
If we wanted that a little broader service,
We could pay.
No, I think as a matter of course, if they, in their audit process, see a deficiency, they're gonna offer some thoughts about that.
have they ever
In that-
found
in
a
that
deficiency?
process. The flip, and I'll come back to that in just a second, but in addition to that, if we as a county find something that we think is a deficiency, we can certainly communicate with them and say, this is how we propose to deal with this. Do you have some additional thoughts that, you know, or some additional ideas that might even be better than that? And I don't think they're gonna hesitate to offer whatever assistance that they can in that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, historically, they are here to help Macon County be successful in, you know, in their county and their finances, that sort of thing, as best they can. So that's part of their, part and parcel of what they do. Any audit firm I've ever
Well,
been.
when she presents next week, then maybe we can get a little more specific. You're just talking about the contract to pay for the audit tonight.
Right, which is required.
And we've got to have an audit, that's required by general statute.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, that motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Park and Meadows Recreation, obviously this has been on the discussion on the blocks for 2 years, I guess. Yeah, we want to talk about it. Came back, I guess just to recap, we had asked Seth for some figures, accurate, but if they missed one way or the other, we sort of asked them to be a little high, which I think he did. Came back to us with a total cost of the project to be about $2.4 million in addition to the part of grant that we got. We also asked during that discussion that Lori do some research, get us some rates as far as if we chose to do the entire project, what that financing cost revision did provide us with that, I believe at our retreat, right, that we gave us that. So the board was given, members of the press, we were given basically a 10-year amortization schedule, 2.48% interest. There's also one for 15 years, it was 3.19%. And she put on there, of course, that was financing the entire amount. That would be another discussion. But so we're here, I guess, sort of back to talk about that. And then also as part of that discussion, Commissioner Higgin brought up, and I certainly agree with him, the consensus of the board was, as we look to this next year as far as the budget, that obviously would be more than doubling our recreation space. We'd be increasing our recreation space by better than 100%. So what's that going to cost? You're going to have to add a couple more people, you're going to have some mowing done, whatever. So we asked Seth to come back with that, and he has put together that information, which is in your board package you have in front of you. Members of the meeting will with you copy on it. Anyway, is that a pretty good background? Is that where we are?
Yes.
So Seth, we'll turn it over to you for presentation and discussion.
Okay. Like Commissioner Corbin said, y'all wanted to know kind of what it would cost to run. I guess as you have in front of you, I'll just kind of work down through this list of the line items that it will affect, and there's also a number of them that it won't.
This is your number 2. There's two different documents. You gave us one that has different numbers than number 2, so we're on number 2, right? That's the first.
This is wrong. The one that's in your...
Okay, so we delete number 1 and we're going to work off number 2.
Yes.
What's the increase in that one, sir?
166, 160.
Yeah, we got the right one. Agenda package, got the correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Salary. I'll need 2 full-time employees out there, a singular maintenance worker, and that total comes to $59,654. I'll also need part-time staff to help with the mowing, weed eating, field dragging. That will increase that line item by $20,000. That gives me 2.5 employees working their full 1,000 hours that a part-time worker is allowed to work at $8 an hour. The Medicare, FICA, hospitalization, life insurance, retirement is all based on the salaries of those two workers. You can go down to office supplies. I'll need to increase that by 200 to run copies and that type of stuff, to buy basically print for the copy machine and so forth, to basically just promote flyers, run schedules, and so forth. Custodial supplies, that will go up by $4,000 because I'm adding 2 new bathrooms. The $8,000 in my little budget serves all the rec park now, but an additional $4,000 will be enough to cover those. Operating supplies of $17,000. Operating supplies covers everything from buying bases every so often for the fields to fertilizer, lime, anything that it takes to operate. Rec sports, with the addition of the fields, we're going to have some more leagues. We're going to need balls and that type of stuff, so we increased that line item by $2,000. Vehicle repair and maintenance, $3,000. That's what we buy our gas out of, that line item. So that needs to be increased by $3,000. Maintenance, that $5,000 is the number that we came up with. That will probably not be used right away because everything should be new. Maintenance fixes things that break, or if fencing's wrong or something like that. So we put a ballpark figure of $5,000. And property and building improvements is anything landscaping wise or anything that we can build relatively inexpensive to enhance what we have already. So $5,000 on property and building improvements. Telephone expense at $1,500. Electricity, we're going to add $25,000, even though we have got quotes from other people that have ballparks the same size. That's going to be a little much for that, but I'd rather go on the high side than have to come back and ask for more, because our usage will be great once it happens, and plus with the cost of electricity going up. And then non-capital equipment, an increase of $1,500, that buys weed eaters and anything that's not a capital expenditure. Weed eaters, hammers, shovels, rakes, that type of stuff. That all those numbers added together come up to $166,160. Added to my budget of $624,107 comes to $790,267.
And then your stars below there, your bullet points.
Yes. At one time, I say one time, these things will last for years. It's not like it's an ongoing budget item. $55,000 will be needed to buy equipment. That'll buy a tractor with a front bucket and a backhoe, a field buggy, which is like a John Deere Gator. That's what we drag and line the fields with, and then 2 different mowers. A real mower to mow the outfields of the ball fields, and another, just a rotary mower to mow the outside grounds. You don't want to mix the two, especially if you've got different grasses, because you'll bring weeds and stuff into your plant surface that are a lot harder to get rid of than they are to get there originally. That's expense side. Going into the revenue side, the concession lease and field rental will be new revenue streams for Macon County. My suggestion is that for the first year or two, especially before we get started, is we lease those concession stands out. I've talked to a couple people that would be interested in it already, and I asked them, what kind of thing the other people do, and they usually charge anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month, plus a percentage of what their profit is. That's how they would bid on it. We set the initial number that we're guaranteed this much, but how they send us a bid to get awarded is that they'll give a different percentage. Keeping up with that is going to be tricky. Who's to say at one of those tournaments that they're going to have to, we'll have to come up with a way to hold everybody to that, unless we come up with a different way. But, and that is per concession stand, we're going to have 2 out there. And also field rental. Field rental you're not going to get rich on, because if you charge a whole lot to these people that are throwing these tournaments, they'll go elsewhere. That's not the money maker. The money maker is to get the teams here and to actually have them spend money in our community is where the true revenue is going to go. But if we charge $25 per day per field, that covers the cost of the 2 guys that it takes to line and the line that we actually use. And then also a $15 per team. So if they have 20 teams in, it's $300 to us per tournament. And in most places, that's what they're doing these days. And every team knows that they're going to come in having to pay a team fee, but that goes the tournament director, and the tournament director contacts us. We don't charge the individual teams that are coming, so it doesn't look like we're charging each team to come play on our fields.
Lori, just a quick question to talk on that. On sales tax, go over how that works. When people pay sales tax, how much of that comes back on the county, and what's the multiple on that?
The 2% county tax is split into, I call it on the soft spot there. It's split into different parts. I mean, each piece of the part, some's based on.
The sales tax, total sales tax is 70%, right?
Well, it's 6.75. 4.75 is state tax, and then 2% is county.
Okay.
Then you have the different articles. I mean, just basically, like if someone stayed at a hotel, so if our hotel revenue goes up, then the 6.75% tax, of course, goes up. And in the end, that should come back around to the county, in pieces and parts as it's divided up. Same thing with if they're buying meals in the restaurants, if they're buying snacks at a convenience store, all that ultimately they're paying that 6.75% sales tax which in turn pieces and parts come back around.
Right. And I'm sorry, I didn't ask you that ahead of time so you could be prepared. The point being that you've got to count that on the revenue end.
Yes.
There's a revenue element to these tournaments and people coming in spending their money, and the sales tax, the room tax, and the thing that comes back to the taxpayer. So, to me, the field rental and stuff like that is just sort of chicken feed.
It is.
To help offset some of the costs of operating that kind of thing.
Now, these concession stands, do we stock those? I mean.
No, if we lease them out,
I mean,
we're
your
completely.
equipment, though. Your equipment.
No, if we lease them, it's strictly up to whoever leases to have whatever equipment they're gonna have in there. That's what we had discussed originally, was whether we could come in and run them ourselves. That's having, my part-time help was double, just to have somebody in there every night. And then most times it's gonna take two people in there running the concession stands on a busy time. One person couldn't do it in each concession stand. And right now, it's starting off brand new. We want to kind of see how they do. We don't necessarily want to get into the restaurant business, I wouldn't think. And if we did it, we run a concessions at the pool now and did really good with it, but always served was chips and candy bars and Coke, things that we can buy straight away. If you're going to be successful with these concession stands, you're going to need to do hamburgers and hot dogs and that type of stuff, things that they can cook to. Are the big ticket items at most concession
So
stands.
you're going to give them a pretty long-term lease
Uh,
for them to front equipment on handle.
Well, I don't think that they'll need any major equipment. If we got into major equipment, we wasn't designed septic-wise for.
I was gonna say, that's gonna be a potential issue.
Yeah,
It's gonna have to be addressed before you can get into any serious food preparation.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything that will require like a grease trap or anything like that.
This would be similar.
Yeah,
a similar thing in my mind would be like the concession stands do at football games.
Exactly.
Most of the food's prepared somewhere.
Yeah.
The Chick-fil-A sandwiches,
Yeah.
pizzas kept.
Basically, we've got warmers.
You got warmers. You keep it warm. That's what most 6 games a year. You're not going to spend $14 million cooking.
Yeah, we will not be preparing food here. It'll be just warming up something that's prepared off-site. And going back to that's how we designed the septic system, is to not do that. And most people that run concession stands kind of have their own little, if they do barbecue, they do it elsewhere and come and sell it there, so.
I asked one other thing. Did you ever get an engineering fee from Mike to add in on your spreadsheet, your cost analysis?
He said for engineering professional fees, plan on somewhere around 40,000. Now, I've not had.
Now, is that in addition to what he's obligated to do now?
No, that's.
Or is that from here? I mean, he's got a contract right now.
17.
And in that contract, there's still some things to be done.
Yeah.
Under the terms of that contract, some fairly substantial.
It extends through the life of the project, under the oversight of stormwater and the stormwater system, taking us through all
The grading.
So there's some contract negotiations that.
Do what?
Renegotiate some contracts.
Yeah, basically, the scope of his contract assumes a certain level of services that would not be enough services if you end up deciding to do more of this project than what was originally contemplated in the scope of his work.
Assure you, for $17,000, he's not going to engineer this project.
No, what he has done right now is to get us through the part F, what the part F has required. But I think
Actually, it's even a little more than that.
Yeah, it is, and I think the 40 was to do the project, but so we would less the 17 from that.
Can you get that in writing? I mean, he needs to submit.
Well,
if I'm not mistaken, and like Seth and I talked, some of these things like your fences and your lights are going to come pre-engineered. If I'm not mistaken, and all that's going to be just taking measurements and getting how much fence we need. But when the fence arrives, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be engineered.
Yeah.
But somebody's got to tell you where to put it, though.
Yeah, well, we can handle a lot of that stuff.
Oh, so you can handle that in-house?
Yeah, the things that we can, and we're working on that right now to find
Well,
out.
your design professional's going to be able to walk you through that process about what you can and can't do. in accordance with state law. I mean, the bottom line is there are things that you can do on non-building type things a whole lot easier than when you've got actual physical building structure. There's a lot more rules on that part than say on grading or putting up lights or putting up fences. But each of you gentlemen need to be reminded of the change that the legislature made as far as procuring services of design professionals. There was a change October 1 that basically, heretofore we used to be able to pretty much choose any design professional we wanted and exempt the project if we chose to do that, if we thought that was in the best interest of the county. The law was changed, and we basically have got that authority up to the $50,000 level now, but not above. So bear that in mind. If you're getting into a total design cost in excess of $50,000, you're going to have to put out a request for proposals. That's going to need to come out for consideration of all design professionals instead of, now it may turn out that the one that you're working with, due to the fact that you've got an established relationship there, I think that's a pretty important part.
And that's a cap per project, total project.
Yeah, basically, if you're going to exceed 50,000, you got to put out advertise for request for proposal of those design services. It used to be we could exempt it, but you can't now.
And I hate to take the floor and ask all these questions. Seth and I was talking earlier. These existing ball fields that we've got, Seth made the classic statement I've heard a lot of times, not kicking, is who owns these practice fields. These are show fields that you're looking to build. And we've got Little League starting, and if you guys have ever seen these ball fields we've got for practice, and I've said this all along, there's a couple of us dangerous to build. And it's always that thing, well, the school owns this, county owns that. Is there some way that this body could get someone to be in charge of our practice fields? You guys all go look at them. Staff will take that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They need sand. They you know. And your show field is no good if you don't have good practice fields, is the way I look at it. And we got what, 7, 8, 9 practice fields?
Yeah.
They need some work, don't they?
They do.
The ones you're responsible for are in pretty good shape. But you can't touch the Board of Education.
But the one, I mean, I can answer that, the ones that, the industrial park, the direct park are the county's responsibility.
And the Palisades Park is county.
Palisades Park is county.
And Industrial Park.
Industrial Park is county, and now Cali School is county.
Yeah. And the schools would be
The school system.
Yeah, we got 4 fields in school, we got 4 or 5. One at Union, 2 at Palisades,
South Macon.
2 at South Macon, so 5 fields there.
Yeah.
That would take a lot of pressure. The Little League's coming up next month.
It is.
Is there some way we could get somebody in this county to be over these things? And make sure, if they need a little money, that guy looked at me and said $1,500, he can fix it. I mean, you gotta put sand and.
I'll make a motion to give them $1,500 and fix them up.
That's per field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I thought that fix them off $1,500.
Well, I thought you was gonna.
I think through an interlocal agreement with the school system, you could accomplish that.
Could we do that?
I don't think
Recreation
the schools got the extra money to work on it right now, probably.
Yeah,
So they'd probably be looking to the county for those sums.
It just seems like a
small amount.
We're talking about doing something for the kids, for the children,
I think they would welcome those fields to be fixed too, I suspect.
So you think the school can give us the opportunity to throw us all in the jar and take care of all of them?
Well, another problem we're gonna run into with the schools, this ain't something we didn't tackle before, it's a liability issue. That's where the schools, after the school, they offer these fields, we play on them for years, but we never hear the word liability, you do now.
Yeah.
And the school will bring that up, that would be the first thing we'll hear about, when you use these school fields.
But that's always been good, having on both sides of the fence, that's always been a good.
If Little League will sign over, the liability issues, and but you have kids there who's not permitted to be there. There's a lot of issues now that when we was growing up, you never had. That's something else.
It is, and we do kind of have an agreement with the school system that their facilities turn into recreational facilities after school hours. So it's not that we don't use these schools. I mean, like I said, we're on them all. We're in their gyms right now playing basketball every evening. But as far as having the manpower and stuff to actually keep ours up and the school fields, it's kind of impossible at the time that we can get on those, because we can't go early in the morning, you know, like we can work on the ones at the rec park and get on those fields. So we have to wait until after hours a lot of times. So that too is where we run into. They do what they can, but they do need help. And like I said, we're starting next week. We'll start going out and spending a little bit of time, but as far as spending a buku of money on them, we don't. We do what little bit, you know, 2 men with some rakes and shovels can do.
Raking the dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that just if we're serious about doing this for children, somewhere there's got to be out of this county. There's got to be a regardless of what obstacles, liability, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
who would be your counterpart in the school system as far as?
Well, Justin,
really, each principal is who we contact. You know, they're responsible for their campus.
Okay.
Those guys have been great as far as communication, but really I deal with each individual principal at his campus.
can you give us a summary of these fields, Justin? I mean, of what needs to be done, or
Sure.
I mean, I know you're involved head in the Little League, and we appreciate what you do.
We'll come back to this with
these-
this assessment of the condition of the field, what it would take to fix it, an approximate cost estimate, and we can look at doing that. I mean,
I wait before the news on, please. I think that'd be the way to go, don't you?
with the rest of the layers, yeah, we can do that.
But the bad thing is though, is that the next rec commission meeting will be well after Little League has
He's talking about
started.
the liaison between the school board and us.
Yeah.
Those school fields, are they set to play on?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Okay. And it's been that way forever.
Pretty much. And some of the hurdles you come across is, you know, Colosseum School, for example, the old Colosseum School.
Yeah.
I think the archery club has a lease on it as of right now. So using those facilities is kind of a give and take relationship right now, not between us, the school system, and the archery club. But that field there is not even suitable for practice. So
What
there's other
about
hurdles.
Union?
I'm sorry?
The Union field.
Unions,
That one's-
it needs to be worked as well.
South Macon.
South Macon, minimal work, but the lower field is a pretty good field, but the upper field closer to the school needs some major work.
Is it a good idea to get these things in usable shape for these children?
I couldn't agree more.
Would it be reasonable for just, I mean, you're at those fields all the time. What would it take to give us a page, a little summary of each field, what it needs, approximate cost to
I think
fix
that's
it?
possible. I think that we can come up with that. It's no problem.
And y'all can do that for us?
Absolutely.
By next Tuesday.
Sure.
All right. Sounds reasonable.
Thank you, sir.
I think, to me, it's very much a related issue. It's a separate issue. but
That's
it's very
immediate.
related.
That's something we can fix tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, these fields are pathetic. They're awful. That route out there on Union School, I don't mean to keep harping. There was a white pine root that big on shortstop, you know where it's at. And it had been mowed for so many years, the top half of it was mowed off.
Yeah.
In shortstop. That big around. The fences are knocked down, it's red clay. It's flat places, let's use them. Thank you, Justin.
But that goes back to an issue that I've discussed for years, and that is, it's like your house or like anything else. You can paint and replace things as they break, or you can put it off forever and not do it, which is what's been done so many years in this county. And then you wind up with, oh my God, we need to spend all this money to get it up. To me, it's more reasonable to try to have some kind of system where you keep these things. I've worked that for years. It seems like we're conservative county, and I get that, and I'm all part of that, but you've got to, if you're gonna keep up our facilities, you gotta spend a little bit of time and some money on it.
At this time next year, if these fields we're talking about right here are up and going, it will relieve that problem, I think.
It will relieve a lot of it, yeah. I'm not saying we will be totally off of those fields, but it'll open up the rec park now. We'll use that facility for games, and Justin's done a schedule, and we can use the rec park now as basically our main hub for practices. And basically we can fix up probably South Macon and.
But we're not talking about fixing these fields up with lights and concession stands
No.
and all that.
No.
We're talking about just fixing
Just
playing
for
surfaces
practices.
acceptable to be practice
Yeah.
fields.
Yes.
Practice field.
Because the rec park, as it stands right now, I mean, there are game fields, so that would be an awesome practice facility. And like I said, the ones out of South Macon with minimum work, you can make nice fields out of those. And I don't think we would need much more than what.
And I'll make another point real quick too. Fixing these school fields up is great. It also goes back to those schools. We know they're understaffed. And those guys can't commit the time and energy to do that. But if we're able to do this, it's for those kids there as well, for the school system. I would love to be able to come to an agreement that we can help out in some capacity. But, not only for Little League, but it goes back to the school system too. Your PE classes, it's such a, it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's just these same kids, you can't put it in terms of whether school system kids or they're county. It's the same taxpayers paying for all of it.
And they're all kids.
And that's one thing I've always liked about our county, which is not common. It's not common where these school facilities, they basically say, here's the keys, and at 3:30 you can start having your basketball practices. That's uncommon.
It is.
In this state. Sure. And we use our resources. I know when we started this thing to build our elementary schools, one of the things the school board said to the county was, we're going to build these schools, we're going to build regulation gyms because you can use it. What would you be if we hadn't done that?
We'd be, I mean, it's still, we still can't play boys and girls together. We still have to have a girls season and a boys season. So it's not like there's, but it's a whole lot better than what it could be. And like you said, there's other places, other school systems that charge the rec parks $25 an hour to use their facilities, which we don't pay right now. So that's a big chunk of change that we could be that we're not having to.
Seth, anything else on your, good, Justin, thank you for doing that.
Justin.
If you'll bring that back to us, that'd be valuable information. We have talked about that for a while, nothing's ever been done, so let's just, we won't blame anybody, we'll just move ahead and do it.
Don't look back.
All right, questions on Seth's presentation, on big picture, where you want to go, what you want to do, questions for clarification? I know I've got some comments, but
I do have one point that I think needs to be made to Seth and the board. Seth was kind enough to sit down and work with me and the county manager about the part of the grant agreement that was sent by the state. Was able to round up a bunch of information that was helpful to us, and we've got a few adjustments made to that proposed contract. But as we talk about the scope of this project, you need to be reminded in this particular agreement, there's a provision that basically says if you're going to deviate at all from the scope of the agreement that they approved, you've got to get their written approval to do that. And we were thinking that if we did more than what we committed to do, that would be fine. But no, they still want to see that and they want to approve it first. So we got approved what I think we're calling phase one. And if you decide to do more than phase one, before you start spending money and putting things under contract, we need to let the folks down in Raleigh see that drawing, the good drawing work that's been done.
But it'll explain the difference, and I've had conversations about that. If we decide, for example, we're going to do the whole project, in this particular case, what we applied for in part of grant is 100% included in that.
Yes.
The reason for this, that, and I understand it. In our case, I think it's a little redundant because they're going to look at it and say, well, you've got all that in there, you're doing it. You can't. The spirit of that is you can't apply for part of grant and say we're going to do this ball field and this walking track and this thing, and then you get the money and say, no, I think we're going to do this because that board has approved a certain project and they want to see that you complete that project.
And they want to make sure if you're going to do something else that you're not going to impair the quality of the project if they approve.
But that's the key. And Luann said if looking at our overall project, that it'll be a slam dunk.
I don't think it's going to be any problem.
No, all we'll have to do is send it
and
we'll get it back just like that.
Including 100% of what you applied for. And I get that because that would, if you didn't have that provision in there, you would have people applying for this on false pretense. We're going to build pool, we're gonna build this, and then when they get the money, then they decide, well, let's do something else with it.
Yeah.
So I get
And that's
that.
the reason that the standard for the part of grant has changed.
Yeah.
That's a
the
good
very
thing.
reason it's
It won't be, that will not be a problem.
No, no, that's a,
All I'm saying
that's
is
just
just
a
make
detail
sure
we
you
need.
get it before
Yeah.
you start spending money.
And that is what we have before us tonight that was going to be included in this agenda item, the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund project agreement. It was distributed in hard copy, and like Chester said, we worked with Seth and made the changes, and just we really, I'll just echo what Chester said with that, because the scope of the project as it is now is for the land acquisition of 47.94 acres, ball fields, bleachers, just everything that said, that came up here and said that this would be what we got for part of grant in the previous presentation we gave.
And I'll tell you, the state was very responsive to our request for some changes. If you remember, we were in the process of acquiring property before we got the grant, and we had to apply to them for what they call a waiver in order for us to submit the cost of that land as something that could be reimbursable in part by the grant. When the agreement came, it didn't have reference to that, and they were very receptive to work with us and get that put in there and make it part of it. So, and not only that, they did it with the understanding that we needed it tonight.
So what are we looking to approve tonight is a part of grant application?
No, this is the actual grant agreement.
And that's contained in this part.
Yes, sir. That's where you actually formally commit to do the things that,
That we're on the grant
that we're,
application.
basically.
Minimum, we have to do that.
We take the time to read this? It may just be fluff, standard stuff.
Sure. Well, let me suggest this as far as any action. Because these we're already meeting next Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with y'all taking time to read that, and we'll deal with it Tuesday night.
Brittany, what's wrong? We're not gonna be that long.
This whole meeting's next Tuesday.
Huh?
This whole meeting is now next Tuesday.
Got
Got nothing to write about.
Paul wants to read everything. So gentlemen, we got this in front of us. We, I think, at least need to make yourself familiar with that, and let's come prepared to ask questions, clarifications, and vote, at least on the North Carolina Park Recreation Trust Fund project agreement. Everybody has that in front of you. Additionally, I think we need to make some decisions where we're going with this thing. If we're gonna do the minimum work and build the 2 ball fields and that, I've got a question. I'll just tell you where I am with it. I've been behind this project since we started. I'm ready to pull the trigger on it myself. We asked Lori about these financing numbers, and I'll say up front, I'm not for financing the entire thing, so I'm not going there. But if you look, if we financed the entire thing, we didn't put a penny cash into it, used the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, we would pay, with a 10-year, 2.48% interest, we would pay $351,000 in interest. According to Seth's preliminary figures, if I'm not mistaken, just in grading and lighting, it's going to cost about $400,000 more to do it in pieces. Plus, you don't have use of the facility. Yep. So that's at worst is a wash.
The lighting was $250,000. The electrical was going to cost another
well, I may be low on
another $80,000, and that's not including the cost of grading for them to do one spot and then to come back and do another spot and then to do another spot.
Some of our local grading folks, they indicated that somebody said if you bring your equipment here and out here to work around existing field, they're going to charge you
a whole lot more.
So you're talking about at least $400,000.
Lori, have you run this? Have you run any of this by BIF?
No, I need your, before I even go to BIF,
he'll let you run it by him. I talked to him. He'll let you just say, look, we're thinking about doing this or this or this.
Right.
He'll put it up on his computer and he'll figure it out.
But I think if you take the savings that
Did you do that, Lori?
Pardon?
Did you do that?
Can I talk to BIF?
Yeah, just tell him what you're thinking.
But if you take the savings by doing the whole thing together, subtract out the interest cost, you come out money ahead, plus you have the use of the facility beginning next year. The economic impact that we're talking about would not happen, and then we've had the rec commission come to us 100% agreement to go ahead with this. We've had everybody that's spoken in these meetings over, we've talked about this for 2 years, is for doing the whole thing. You will not get the economic impact unless you do it all. It's not gonna happen. If you take $6 to $8 million a year economic impact, the sales tax alone is going to pay for the project. So I'm for moving ahead with it. But I'd like to have one more bit of information, Lauren, and I'm not going to put you on the spot tonight. What is our, could you come back to us Tuesday with our fund balance? What is our approximate fund balance that we would have? Don't say answer tonight. I'm not asking you to do that.
I don't know if I can answer next Tuesday. I mean, it's kind of early in the year to take.
I know, and it fluctuates.
month by
You sort of look at last year, I mean, it's running about the same thing, except we're gonna have a little more sales tax. So I think we could probably take last year's fund balance and compare it to where we're at for January and February. If we can guess the sales tax, we have to guess it then.
Yeah, sales tax, I mean, we've only got 4 months in the bank.
And that runs behind anyway.
You got a 3-month lag, so.
We can sort of
I can come up with
anticipate.
something. Just don't hold my feet to the fire.
I understand. We're fortunate that we've got a good fund balance is well above what we need to carry anyway, so.
Well,
I'd like to know that.
on my comment is something like I talked to you about a while ago. If we're gonna move forward with this project, I believe in trying to see if we can save every dollar on every corner we can. And from what's just been discussed right here, what we just said, if we look at this at the right angle, it's potentially saving $1 million on it. All right, you said if you done it all at once, you save $400,000.
I think that's conservative. I wouldn't really consider the full grading cost, but that's, I would stand by that.
You're talking about if you did the finance and could afford it out of the fund balance, there's $350,000 in interest.
That's correct.
Okay, one of you's quoted, you said 80-something thousand dollars if we done it all together, we could save in a lighting system.
Electrical.
Electrical, okay. All right, when you start putting all these figures together, we're getting up there close to $1 million we can save on it. I'm all for saving $1 million of our taxpayers' money. Now, I know there's a lot of people that explains things out here in the community. If they instead of start making money, they would make $18 bills. They would make 20s. And so you sit there and listen to all their stories and things. I wonder how they change them up. If they do 2 9s, 3 6s, or 6 3s. But if we could save $1 million on this project, we need to take a look at that right there real close.
Couldn't agree more.
But anyway, and if we're gonna make some move next week on this, you think maybe we could get some of the numbers to really look a little bit closer on?
Yeah. And I think, like Ronnie said, Lord can give us a moving, sort of an average on that fund balance. We'll know where it is, and we'll get an idea. I don't know. I think we just have to decide how much of that are you willing to use. You know, are you willing to put $2.4 million out of the fund balance for potential economic gain, et cetera, or a combination of
Well,
that?
I'll tell you, to be honest with you, I don't start making kind of good talk, but I think we've had a little argument here and there about some of that money. That might be put something other than to save $1 million right there that make people look at it a little different and working harder for them.
I agree.
You're getting the job done quicker too.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen, before we're going to talk about it next Tuesday? Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, Seth.
Appreciate your time and attention.
Thank you, Jeff.
Are those numbers in the packet? Should we get out?
Thanks.
Here you-
Are you going to make us a copy?
There you go.
Sure, you can have one.
Are they updated ones? Okay.
All right, under new business, continued on, we've got Macon County Planning Board report on county owned property.
Okay, if y'all remember, back in 2013, we tasked the planning board with looking at all the vacant property across Macon County that is owned by the county. Ms. Matt's here to give us a report on that.
Okay, Matt?
I did, I wrote Jimmy a summary of what the planning board came up with.
And we got that by email, I believe,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. You got a hard copy here.
We do, but I think we got that in advance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you know, the planning board has completed the task of reviewing potential options regarding the surplus property that's owned by Macon County. The board ended up reviewing 9 properties owned by the county and 1 property that's currently owned by the school board. Careful, Bobby.
Bobby, all right, Bobby.
Workers' comp, no coverage under this.
You been drinking, Bobby?
We got an EMT here, I'm not worried.
Okay.
There's a summary of basically the old county garage we felt was important to keep for future needs of the county. And the reason for retaining that parcel is for future negotiations between the town of Franklin or potentially with Duke Energy. That's the only piece that the county has in surplus that has city water and sewer available. The Highlands Road site might also have that too. We didn't look into that. That's a site that's right going out the Highlands Road right before you get to the flea market, where the big billboards are at. We felt that was had potential to complete the greenway or add an additional parking area for the greenway. Felt that was something that the county might need to look at keeping for a while. The Iowa Church Road site, that's actually joined with the North Carolina Forest Service, and due to flight paths of the airport and stuff like that, we felt it was important to keep that as a safety feature. I don't know, the airport authority might have some regulations on that. We found one parcel at the Macon County Co-op where the Fruit Growers and Vegetable Growers Association owned part of the property, and then the county owned another piece. It was the board's recommendation to go ahead and combine that with the Fruit Growers Association, and they actually split their property.
Well, actually, Matt, what that is, if that ever ceases to become a co-op, which it is, Macon County retains that property.
Goes back to the county.
Goes back to the county. Now, we've had negotiations with co-op over the years about their buildings. They own the buildings that's on the property.
Right.
And we went way down the road with this, as Mike Decker can remember. And Chester got involved, and it's sort of convoluted the way it was done back in 1970 something. And so,
There's actually, if it's sold, I think the county's due some money for it.
that's right, for the building.
And then,
So you're not recommending joining those properties right now?
Oh, I would say that, we already own the property that's there. I mean, the co-op is wanting to sell. In fact, the co-op is, they still have a board of directors just simply because they have buildings out there.
because they can't do it.
But they really,
There's no operation.
there's no operation, it ceased to exist, so they'd like to see the county own it all. Of course, they want to be reimbursed for the building. And that becomes a Chester question, which we worked on before.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I think some of this board has been privy to some of those discussions, but maybe not all of it. And I can certainly bring that file and bring it up today if you like. There's a number of things we've looked at, a number of angles that we've looked at.
We do have access to water sewer there.
Yeah.
That's what made it real.
But I do think that group would be interested in selling that property too.
So we're not going to.
Oh, they're more than interested.
So we wouldn't need to.
So we just retain it.
We just retain, don't consolidate that with a piece owned by the Fruit and Veg.
That's right.
We just X that one.
Okay, and then on the next page, we had some properties that we did decide the best thing would be to surplus them. There was a piece in Middle Creek, 2 pieces on Bradley Creek, 1 piece on Barnard Road, and then the piece of Bethel Church Road.
Where is Barnard?
Way down there.
Are any of those parcels the county acquired through the chaff program? You know?
I don't know.
That needs to be checked because all those parcels are encumbered with some restricted covenants or were supposed to be.
What's the
The
check?
Bethel Church Road was not.
You'd have to do a preliminary title search on, deep research on that anyway.
You will need to check that because there's some very definite restrictions about what that those properties that were deeded to the county can't.
Well, I'd be in favor of, those are outliers right there, trying to sell this stuff instead of donating and let you do a preliminary deed research.
Well, for example, on market, for example, if you look at the Bethel Church Road property, if you remember back years ago, they bought that, thinking they were going to relocate the convenience side on the Highlands Road, and then figured out they didn't have to, or didn't need to, so they just own that property, and it's just sitting there.
Get back in the tax base.
Bradley Street property.
Who's gonna be responsible for pulling the preliminary plat, so it's, I mean, go ahead, go ahead, issue things.
And that's all for properties that's actually owned by the county, and then discussions developed into the Colossae School. Obviously, it's still owned by the school board. I had a couple phone calls once the discussions turned towards Colossae Schools with Curtis Dowdle. Was looking at an agreement with the school system for local training events and regional events. They currently have that agreement with the school system.
And the school boards have to leave the electricity and utilities on at that school to keep the discharge permit, the sewer system from expiring, right?
That's correct.
So they're putting money into this thing.
And that's the problem with Palisade School. You've got two problems. One, if it's a change of use building and the building code.
Right.
It's huge. And then the second one is the sewer discharge. We're here pass, if you come up there right now and have an inspection, so if they'll assume all those duties, we can come to an agreement. I think the school board should jump at it. If they'll assume the sewer responsibilities and change the use of the building, because we looked at a lot of different things. And it's so much different. LE had these things in place, and it was so much simpler than Colossae. With Colossae, even if I wanted to put in a pump system, the only place you got a pump system is the playground. It'd have to be a sand filter system, and I'm not sure there's enough room there for that because of square footage. So
Talking to our environmental health guys, they're willing to permit it for the required number of gallons a day, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
as far as the septic, but you still go.
But that is still on the school board.
At some point, there needs to be a decision made. I mean, that's
where they need to make the decision.
Yeah. I mean, we got rid of every other school for mine now. We got rid of everything else except.
We got you a new.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, I mean, it's an asset sitting up there.
You're right, Otto School sold. So Cowie's transferred into somebody else using it.
But they had Colossae on the market. I don't think they ain't buying it or not.
They did a couple of years ago. Wayne Moss was going to look at it for a
We're going for it.
and that was
When he found a change of use, that was the lights out for that. So
some of those codes have changed
it
for
has
agricultural purposes.
some of these old schools just don't have. It's hard.
If you're talking about, don't worry about sewer systems. There are sewer systems to be put in Colossae School for whatever they want to use it for. I have to know a guy who has some. The discharge permit ought to go away. We could do a discharge, we could do a user system on the site. And that's a valuable piece of property to somebody. The school board ought to be trying to sell it.
Oh, that might be information the school board can use.
That's.
Well, they were issued a permit, or going to be issued a permit within the next week or so that will reflect that. I mean, according to their staff, that's what I was told.
Good deal.
So as far as action now, this surplus property?
No, that's just a summary that.
Oh, I understand. I mean, as far as what we do with this now.
It's just on what I reckon it's just on the additional surplus properties.
Yeah.
Just check those titles and see if it's able to sell. If it's able to sell, I would support putting it on the market.
Second motion
or what did I say? Oh, I basically will.
Yeah, one of the things the
Well,
board discussed.
you're going to be limited. You can't list them with a real estate person and sell them. There's sale and disposition statutes that have got to be passed in order to sell any quote-unquote surplus property, and that's what this would be. Surplus property. And I can give you the options of the various ways it can handle if y'all want that too.
Please do.
All right.
Well,
What did you say What was that word that you used yesterday? Somebody's might have been involved with what?
Chaff.
What's that? What's the
Yeah,
acronym
remember
for?
when we had the
What does that
slides?
stand for?
I'm not sure
It's
that I
federal
can
money.
tell you.
It's like when Peach Creek happened, it's all the federal money that went to federal.
It was money that was designed to deal with all the flooding and landslides and that sort of thing. But, and some people were bought out and relocated, and when they were, the properties that they owned, those deeds went to the county, but there were some restrictions placed on those parcels as to what the county could and couldn't do with it. So it's not like it's a house site or something that would be available.
And we tried to eliminate as many of those as we were aware of. I think that a lot of these were either reclaimed from tax issues or just people dying out and not have anybody
Could be.
transfer the property to.
Okay.
And I think it's relevant to know, you know, a little
Thank
bit
you,
about the
planning
history.
board, man.
before you
Good
try to
job.
go.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
You listed 9 properties. How many properties is the county on?
We were just looking at surplus, that, and what we took out of that was all the schools, anything attached to the school. Property, federal money bought like Peace Creek properties. I don't know total amount, but I can shoot you an email on it.
No, I just wanted how you narrowed it tonight, because I know some other property is not me, but it's out by the garden and all of that, out through there, we got, private property around the school and all that, and I
Right.
they were reserved
And
that.
the one we looked at was like South Macon School. You know, there's, the county owns some property out there, and that was something we thought we could potentially use at some point. I don't know how.
That's about 18 acres.
That's wetland.
So there's.
Got a little
heavy
pond
percentage,
probably.
Yeah, it's got a lot of water.
There's that pond in the stream,
So
and there's some
it's
artifact.
probably gonna
issues.
benefit the county just for a tag.
Yeah, that's man-made pond, you know, reach it like you did Park Farm, that's some good land.
Yeah.
Somebody now, did we lease that out for, I mean, there's people growing hay on that?
I don't think we lease it, but people cut hay out there.
How's
I don't
that
know
arranged?
I don't know how that works.
It's a good start, thank you, Matt.
There is an agreement about the hayfield. When Jack will be there, so there is an agreement there to keep it clean. All right, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Take that, Matt. Take a look at the property too. Take your job.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this has been something that's been 2 years in the making since we brought it up at our retreat. Budget retreat 2 years ago, so nothing seems to move too fast in government. Finally happy to see this. Finally kind of doing it.
There's some pretty clear ideas.
Check any pictures of it.
We appreciate your foresight. Next thing would be the collection of delinquent taxes. Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir. If you'll look in front of you and recall, as I stated earlier, at our work session, we agreed to authorize Richard to proceed on with contacting the firm of Ridenhour and Goss to assist him in collecting delinquent taxes that are owed to the county. He has done that, and they have provided him with a draft agreement for Macon County tax collection work. It's just a 2-page agreement. The first page basically lays out their rate, what they're going to do for this rate, and Chester has reviewed the contract and recommended that some changes be made to the contract prior to us entering into it with this firm. I spoke with Richard today, and upon your approval, I will get back with Richard, get with Lori, as Chester has suggested here, make the needed changes and move forward with signing this contract. And you are going to need to sign it as well. If we could just get a vote of the board on that.
This is your recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody checked to see, this by the hour stuff doing taxes can really equal money?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons for the addition that I've recommended. I think this group would intend to pursue the attorney's fees statutory provision, but the reality is we need to make it abundantly clear that that's part and parcel of their obligation is to pursue court order awarding the county attorney's fees for the handling of those actions. That's not really specified in that agreement. I think it was intended, I think that's what they probably would do, but let's just make it crystal clear that they need to make a good faith effort on that. Otherwise, you could do a foreclosure A to Z, spend $2,000 on it, $3,000 on it, and it could be a piece of land that nets $500 at a foreclosure sale.
I think I got a copy of that.
So,
I read
do
it
math,
somewhere.
you don't want to go there. You just don't want to go there.
Another question, Chester, on the, is it unheard of that if they're unsuccessful after a period of time, or at any time, I didn't see it in the contract, maybe the attorneys or the county can terminate without cause, right?
Yeah, this is basically, anytime you have an attorney-client relationship, you as the client have the ability to terminate that relationship. Absolutely. And there might be some financial consequences to it, depending on the way the contract is written, but this specific agreement, I think, it provides that it's a non-exclusive arrangement, so.
What my question is, how much do you put in a specific project?
Well, I think that's something that Teresa and Richard need to.
Are there preset limits is what I'm asking?
Preset limits.
Preset limits, if it's Kevin Crawford's property and I'm going after this attorney, look, on this piece of property for us to be above water and the county gets the money back, you can't spend but X amount of dollars.
I think that's an evaluation that Teresa and Richard need to make in advance of turning that particular matter over. And if it's good, and they sit down with them and they say, oh, you got a title problem, you're gonna have to address that as part and parcel of this thing. You may look at it and say, just as you're suggesting, I'm backing up here.
Yeah, you're gonna be underwater.
And you do need to do that evaluation. I mean, and some of those parcels are gonna be that way. I can tell you that right now.
And we don't want to put $20,000 into a piece of property that we're gonna sell for $5 and lose 15. We're going in the hole even deeper. So.
All the more reason to make sure you get the attorney's fees, coming off of the top.
So the attorney's fees are paid by the suee.
Well, basically, they're gonna be paid in all they'll be paid one of two ways. If somebody's property, for example, is getting ready to go into a foreclosure sale, and they are able to come up with the money to salvage it from that and stop the foreclosure sale, as part and parcel of paying those taxes, the attorney's fees would be added on to that, and they would have to pay that at that time as well. So, whatever expense you had, assuming the court orders that to be done. Okay? So you need to get the court order before you take that money, basically, is what you need to do.
And
Make sure you
court
get the court
orders
order.
and judgments, they're nightmares.
They can.
There's
no question about it. The way it will work, though, if the foreclosure goes on and goes to sale, and those attorney's fees and the taxes will come off the top of the sales price, assuming there's a large enough sales price to cover that.
5 years down the road.
Yeah.
Is there any collection agency out there that will do this on a percentage basis?
Well, you got different ways
Yeah,
to look at it. You got collection, and then you've got it when all collection efforts have ceased and or no longer effective or not working. And at which point in time, any attorney that understands his business is not going to take that on a contingency arrangement, because he knows that there's not any low fruit to pick. It's all going to be difficult work.
This structure could conceivably cost us more than we're losing by bad debt now.
I think potentially, but I will tell you, you've got smart people in Teresa and Richard, and I think they understand it does not make sense to spend $1,000 to collect $500. I think they understand. And I think.
I think they do. I don't want to make sure this lawyer does.
Well, I think the thing that they're gonna have to do is just make it clear that they look through what they have to collect and make sure that it's financially feasible.
He mentioned a couple of cases that have gone on for 4 or 5 for an extended period of time, big money. Not turning over ever a $75 bill. There's some of this, we're just gonna write off and lose. Bad debt.
They currently use a collection agency for what, like Chester said, for
Oh,
what
do
they
they?
can, yeah.
And you know, they have had some success. I know when I first started doing some work for the county, they wanted to write some demand letters and whatnot, and truthfully, we got more money on it, just asking for it.
I think, give a reasonable trial period, right? I mean, I won't sign something forever, I'm just saying. Give us 3 months, 6 months, 1 year trial period. Look at the amount of money we've expended and what we've collected.
Well, I don't know that you necessarily have to put a time on it, you just have internally say how long it's going to be.
And have someone internally monitor this thing. I mean,
Well, I think, these are all good points. I think Chester makes something we can listen to. We've got smart people down there, I think, that can give us some direction.
They do.
And Lord made a nice comment. Lord, they want a city contract in annual and agree that city fees charged will not exceed during the contract period.
I've heard that several times from Lori as we've done contracts, and it is important that we don't have an open-ended number, that we budget what we're gonna spend there, or at least have some idea what we're gonna spend there during a given year, and make sure we're not spending more.
So it's up to Richard and his staff to watch this. Lori's gonna be looking at.
Yeah, and I
the
think,
process. And Derek will be looking at the process.
given that Teresa and Richard are not here tonight, I think we owe them the courtesy of reminding them that they got to find her on this.
Chester, with some of these recommendations you made, and Mr. Chairman, if I may, would it be possible for us to get these changes incorporated and maybe let you guys have another look at this Tuesday, next Tuesday?
It should take you a grand total of 30 seconds if you're generally in agreement.
All this stuff will be just like this.
Have some of these not to exceed amounts and things like that.
And I did think of one additional thing, and again, I think this, but I'll discuss it with Eric, other little point that I think might be valuable to add in here too.
I still have to go to the radio station.
But you understand the points, Chester.
So you understand what we need on this? Yes, sir, I'll bring it back, we'll have it adopted, I think that's fine.
Let's see, one other item is the Cowee School agreement.
Yes, I've spoken with Stacy Guthrie and probably Jenkins briefly. Evidently, in a previous budget year, this board had discussed with those individuals about getting the trees, the big pine trees that line the road down there at Cowee School, the playground, getting those trees removed. And they had spoken with Appalachian Tree, and Appalachian Tree has now agreed to remove those at no cost, just for the wood. However, before we get involved with Appalachian Tree and they start performing work, I would like to have something on paper in terms of an agreement that the county and Appalachian Tree can enter into. I've spoken with Chester about it, and not only does it benefit the county in laying out exactly what they're going to do for the lumber or the wood that they're going to get out of it, but it also could provide some tax benefits for them as well. Just having an agreement.
Yeah, I mean, if there's real value in timber there, we do need to know what that value is versus what.
You guys tell me about this stuff. Is that a fair deal? Looks like it.
There's not a big demand for white pine, especially naughty white pine.
They say they're gonna lose money on it.
If they're gonna lose money, I think we're fine. We don't have to.
The only other thing you might need to check is I think the ditch line right there runs, the right of way runs from runs from the center of the ditch line to the center of the ditch line. So I remember when we were trying to get the right of way from the old Rickman store to Cowee School. The if there's no right of way there, fine, but I think it runs from ditch line to ditch line, just make sure.
You don't want to cut any trees on anybody else's property in the state of North
All
Carolina.
these are the top.
It's a double damage.
You just need to make sure on that, but I think it's, everybody thinks those trees need to go and have needed for years, and, so if Greg and Appalachian Trees will to do it, I don't think they're going to take some money on the.
Well, I think Derek was concerned there might need to be just a little bit of an agreement that made it clear what responsibilities.
We'll probably look at that next
Tuesday night. And also to add to that, there will be some brush and other debris left over from this removal of the trees. As I understand, Seth has, at the last budget, was appropriated money for the Cowee School playground in his budget, and he can use that money
Towards the clean. I'm taking bids right now to basically get rid of the brush.
They're not shipping for you? Appalachian?
No. Well, yeah,
for a fee.
Yeah, for a fee. They basically said they would.
They limbs off and take the trunk.
Yeah, and that's all they're doing. That's all Appalachian has said they will do. They'll drop the trees and then take the trees and leave the brush. But they've also gave me a price on what the brush will cost. But I've got another price too.
You got any use for the mowers there?
Stacy Guthrie says that we can get rid of all of it within like a mile radius from different people in that community that says we'll take some of that. He actually had one guy that said he would take every bit of it, but I don't think he realizes how much.
There'll be a bunch of it?
Yeah, there is. There's like 20 some of the large truckloads full.
Can you confirm that it's
So
Georgian?
with your authorization, I'll go ahead and draw up that.
Let me get with you to get the details. I'm sure you got a little more detail than what I've got. Does that need to be brought back before the board, or will you give you authority to handle that?
Well, I think if you just give me authority to handle that, I'll get the tester and make sure we have an agreement that's.
That costs us anything?
It's not a contract, you're not exchanging money, so.
I think.
No, we need to vote on what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I don't Derek's authority to do that. You know, it's not gonna cost county anything. If there's just to work it out, we may actually even have an ordinance that authorizes them to handle this, given the size of what we're talking about. And that's the reason I need to get the details.
If you can, do it.
Do it. Sounds good. All right, consent agenda. You've got all the attachments there, the minutes, 2 meetings, 2 budget amendments, tax relief, much that go on. I'd entertain a motion to approve that, or
So moving, Chairman.
second. We have a motion, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Motion was
I made the
made,
motion.
second was Dave, and everything was unanimous vote on that. We have a few appointments, Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority. Derek, you want to handle these, or?
Where are we at, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry.
Appointments.
The Industrial Facilities and Pollution.
The Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority. Mike, do you have the information on that?
Well, it's just very seldom used body, and they only meet as needed.
Okay.
But I think these appointments have been carried forward for some time, I believe Mr. Shatley.
So we don't have a recommendation?
We do not have a
Okay.
Can we just, we sort of talked about that. Could we just not eliminate that authority and put it over to the economic development?
Useless. I would say, what is it?
Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority, that's another authority. Can that thing?
I mean, the agricultural.
Do we have the authority to abolish that board? Whichever ones you create, you can do. That's a whole big thing. Did we create that board? Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority. I don't know
That's
the
something we had to
history.
create to get a grant on.
We'd be happy to look at it and see how it came about. But as a general proposition, if you created an advisory board of any variety, you have the right to get rid of it.
Once you find out what that is,
Sure.
Library board, if you look,
we have a recommendation from the library. Dan Cowell, I believe it is available for another term, is willing to serve. Janice Lynch is not going to serve another term. We don't have a recommended replacement.
Well, Mr. Chairman, they will be, I'll certainly try to have that to you by we hope to have the library board and some of these boards, it's not like the planning board, people ain't just run to it. So we're trying to get some younger folks involved in some of these boards, and so we hope to have that recommendation to you next week.
Okay. So we'll have that next Tuesday night as well.
And also, Mr. Chairman, while you're on that, go ahead.
Well, we can recommend Dan Cowell. That's been recommended, if you want to make that appointment tonight.
Yeah, I would certainly.
Which board?
The library board. I would certainly make a motion that we appoint Dan, he does a good job.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. We have the Watershed Review Board.
And if I could, please, been talking about Matt Mason's office. There are 3 terms that have expired, but there are also 3 vacant seats on that board. And part of the issue here is that there is an 8-member board, and the representation has to be 2 individuals from those specific watershed areas. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to get Matt to shoot some information to you via email so you can actually think about where those individuals need to live in order to sit on that board.
Did we create that board? Was there not also an issue about the Little Tennessee, not land trust, but a former organization that may have had some say or membership on that board? Yes. Little Tennessee Watershed Association. I think that's what it is. And it seems to me they may have had a place on that, and I think they ceased to exist. I don't know why we need all these boards anyway.
They were consumed by the Little Tennessee land trust.
There you go. Okay, I knew.
I just heard a story about it last
Good.
week.
I just got to tell them we got them with it. There may need to be a little bit of work on bylaws for that particular.
And could that fall under the, necessary to have that board, would that fall maybe under what the planning board does?
Yeah, man, we got the African sage, what's that one? That. Well, again, why don't we just get back to the genesis on each of these organizations so that you can see with some precision why they came about.
Yeah.
And then you can decide whether it's something that needs to stay with you.
Well, I think we can move ahead with the Joint Community Care Advisory Council. That is a mandated board from the Southwest Commissioner and the Southwest Commission. June Hawkins will be appointed to the initial 1 term on the committee in place of Andy Fleur. Andy, has had knee replacement, and Andy would like to continue to serve, but he says for right now he can't. But June Hawkins is, if you don't know, she's Pastor Hawkins' wife, and from the Olive Branch community, and I think she'd be more than welcome and do a good job. These folks do a lot of good work in a nursing facility.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Town of Franklin representative on the Macon County Planning Board. Is that the town of Highlands? That's right. Huh? It's town. Okay. Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Come back to these 2 boards. If y'all want me to just email you the information I find on each of them.
Yeah, I did remember just to bring it up at future meetings.
What about tomorrow? What's that upper Colossaga Watershed Association?
Yeah.
What role was that playing? Who was running? You know?
No.
About that? I know Bob Wright was on that.
Yeah, and
what's his role? Did we create that?
I'm not for sure if we created it or not. I don't know if that was state.
Upper Colossago watershed.
I think any watershed had to have an oversight committee. So I'm,
If I'm not mistaken, I think that one was created by the Board of Commissioners. If I'm not mistaken.
Any of that could be all put on the planning board, please.
That's what I'm saying, if it's planning, if it's water planning, if
Yeah.
it's planning, whatever.
there's something about the watershed, I remember that. There's something about if the
Well, look at it,
watershed.
there's sometimes general statutes that require you to have, you know, a separate. Yeah, look at it.
Do we have a need for a closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Highlands
Bill Petrell.
Chamber of Commerce recommendation for the EDC.
Make a motion with one Bill Petrell.
Yes, sorry. Motion second, any discussion about Bill, EDC representing Highlands? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Do we need to go into closed session? Yes. We do.
Motion to go into closed session for next Tuesday.
At 6 o'clock.
No.
Motion to go into closed session. That's right.
For the purpose of
For the purpose of lawyer
preserving the attorney-client privilege.
preserving the attorney-client privilege.
And to discuss matters
Personnel.
concerning personnel. That's allowed by.
Derek, do you anticipate any action when we go out? No. All right, all in favor? Aye.
All right.
The motion to go to closed session was Bill, second.